everybody. Welcome to the Shadowed Carnival. We're going to be playing Crossroads Carnival tonight. And I'm going to go around and introduce my lovely players who decided to deal with me tonight. Beautiful, wonderful people. Matthias, you want to go first? I guess say who you are, your pronouns, also what you're playing, and your character's name. I guess that works.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Matthias, he, him, and I'm playing Sebastian, the Strongman playbook.
Awesome. Charlie?
I'm Charlie, she, her, and I'm playing Serena, the Seer playbook.
Petra?
Hi everyone, I'm Petra, and I'm playing Marva, the mermaid.
Nice. Taylor?
I'm Taylor, he, him, and I'm playing Tamsin, the snake charmer.
Awesome. Okay. So in this game, it is about, it's set in the 1930s in the Dust Bowl, and it is about, what it says, it's about carnival workers. And we're going to start by sort of building this town, and then we're going to introduce our characters, and then we're going to start the game proper. So first off, I guess we should start by naming our town. Did anyone have a proper name in mind for this town that you guys have come to for your first stop?
Where in the U.S. are we right now?
I didn't think of it as a specific place, as more of like just in the Midwest, unless you guys wanted to have a specific state you guys were in, because I didn't know if you guys wanted to be in a real state, or or like in a real city in a state.
Nah, it doesn't have to be. I was just thinking that if we go with something like Louisville, it's probably not going to be up in the north. Well, maybe it is, but...
I just typed in Midwest towns to see what names would pop up, and one of them is called Fish Creek. And I kind of love the idea of it being called, like...
I'm the mermaid. I'm all for it.
But, like, also during the Dust Bowl, so it's an absolute drought. So Fish Creek is probably totally dry, or, like... just a meandering little stream.
Yeah, like metaphorically and literally dry.
I like the idea that you heard Fish Creek, Marva, and were excited and got there and there was nothing.
Yes.
Like,
and
a mermaid in the Midwest is kind of like the worst situation
yeah.
you could be in.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess that's a little bit disappointing, but I guess we can still make something with it.
So yeah, just Fish Creek, Midwest, USA. And so we have an industry that this town thrives on. Was it fish?
Yeah, they had a big hatchery, like for salmons or something like that, and they used to provide like the best. It doesn't have to be salmon, but something like a really, really good quality, juicy fish.
I like that.
But that's no more.
That cool with everybody?
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. What are some places of interest in this town?
I think there should be like a speakeasy or like dance hall or like one of those places where people would do the marathon dancing stuff. I always think that's funny.
Would you say, is it before or after Prohibition? Like, would the speakeasy still be a secret thing, or?
It's the 1930s, so isn't that after Prohibition? I don't know history.
Yeah, Prohibition ended in 33.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think it's maybe right as Prohibition is ending, so
everybody is officially drunk now.
Yes, yeah, everybody is going crazy, yeah.
I was imagining it was the town from Footloose, and no one's allowed to dance anymore since the old hatchery dried up.
Yeah, I was wondering what would they do? What can you do with a hatchery if you have all those old like a canal kind of that used to be the basins where all the baby fish were in. I mean, what do you want to do with that?
Would there be like a locks and dam?
I don't think there'd be locks because unless there is a large body of water nearby. Locks are usually a coastal thing, right?
Yeah, I think
we
so.
We have locks on the river.
Oh, okay.
Would it be would it have been a big river that dried up? Or more of a creek?
I mean, if there was enough for a hatchery and that to be like their main source of livelihood, we'd have to be talking about lots of bodies of water.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
so that would mean that there would be a very big dam nearby, which is now probably just useless.
It's also said people make bathtub moonshine in there now.
Hey, maybe since the hatchery still represents once former glory of Fish Creek, it's might be even a place that people are avoiding right now or avoiding these days, so it might have become a place of illegal business.
Oh, yeah. Illegal. What kind of illegal business? Could it be? I mean, it could,
doing illegal stuff in the hatchery.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like all kinds of illegal business, honestly.
How about it was turned into, I don't know how big we think Fish Creek is, but since it has these former basins that might be, you could cover them up a little bit. Maybe it is turned into a red light district.
Ooh, okay.
Like a really weird kind of red light district.
Yeah.
To be fair, but
Yeah. With the fish mob.
Yeah. The if it's just one brothel, they probably have some fish related. Oh, some really stupid name like Hooked without an E or something stupid. We need something better than that.
I sort of like that though. It's just stupid. Anywhere else? I do like the idea in the book. They say you have to have you got to have that old rundown church where everyone goes on Sunday, but no one's really a Christian,
Yeah,
I think that's such a 1930s Dust Bowl kind of thing, Anything else you think you guys have to have? And we can always add it through the game, of course, as we're playing.
I guess some kind of diner.
Okay.
Denny's Diner.
I like it. Denny's Diner. It's where Denny's now comes from.
Well, we'll see what happens to Denny's Diner.
I'm still in the brothel and just thinking Double D right now. That's still need to get in the mood, guys. No. There yet.
So what is the town's hunger or need? And in the context of Crossroads in the context of Crossroads Carnival, it's something that so the town is missing this, and this is what's making the town sort of fall apart. And even in the book, it says, it can actually be hunger. It could be that these people are starving.
Maybe also, like, if they had this really well going hatchery, and I don't know if you can win prizes for breeding really good fish, but I don't know, maybe it used to be almost like a tourist hotspot, visit the hatchery and then go on a nice walk, blah blah. But they no longer have that, so maybe they also feel hunger for just.
Would the DNR exist back then?
The what?
The Department of Natural Resources, did they exist back then? Because you could get grants and stuff like that.
I don't know.
That's actually a very good hunger, though. Having like that general funding is missing for everything.
And also just they lost their image.
I don't know if it would exist back then, but this doesn't have to be. I mean, this could be a fictionalized version. Honestly, I don't know.
Right, 1930s DNR grants for fish breeding.
Can you lose like your city status or something like that?
Oh yeah, it could have been unincorporated.
What were you saying,
Yeah,
Taylor?
a lot of those like natural resources and like national core stuff were like FDR post the Depression is kind of what helped pull the U.S. out of the Depression. So I think a lot of those like formal organizations aren't going to exist. But if a lot of people are fleeing a no longer profitable fish hatchery town, going west, trying to get out of the drought areas, then having that like loss of identity, loss of cityhood, loss of like structure and balance, streets are emptying out because like a lot of people could be leaving because they don't have jobs anymore, and that's kind of what people did in the Dust Bowl.
And so when you would go to places like the diner, you would see probably dusted over pictures of the good old times where people received those grants, and I don't know, somebody holding a really fat fish in their hand, and and maybe
there's a picture. Yeah, there's a photo of some kind of mayor standing in front of a building that was once the bank, but right now there's no financial institution in the city anymore.
Oh yeah.
That bank closed down, so everybody.
Yeah, there's like boarding over the walls or the windows and the door.
Nobody has a place where they can go and like deposit any checks or put any money or savings. Basically, you keep that in a little satchel in your house somewhere.
Under your mattress.
Yeah.
So it needs funding. It needs people. It needs resources. I think that's what we're getting at. I like that. I like that a lot. So what's...
But that's also the reason why right now probably the criminal elements are like using this blank territory for moving goods, transferring it or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or, I mean, you can go and get a grant off of those people.
True.
Yeah.
So I think like it's sort of a lawless place, maybe.
1930s, everything's lawless.
That's true. We might be in West Virginia, actually. It's a lawless place. So what's the source of corruption? What has sort of made this happen?
The damn creek dried up.
The damn creek dried up. What, Petra?
I was just thinking that they've lost everything, right? They lost their bank and they're no longer an official city anymore. They've lost their splendor, but I would say that depending how the wind goes, it smells like fish in the streets.
Oh.
Still, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so that like keeps people from coming and drives people off?
Yeah, maybe not all the time. But yeah, I would say so. And they've scrubbed the hatchery 1,000 times, but they just for some reason can't get rid of the smell.
Yeah, on Sundays it's still, and it's the smell of decomposing fish, right?
Oh.
And that, ladies and gentlemen and gentle people, opens up a whole niche for selling anything that smells strongly enough to mask that odor.
The only store is like a perfume store that's like thriving right now.
Candles and perfume.
Yeah.
The whole town is just about, we got shrimp burgers, we got shrimp, but not shrimp.
Every Sunday church, like barely anybody is coming, but they're breaking out the frankincense every goddamn Sunday.
Yep.
Smoking everything and everyone.
So there are two ways in Crossroads Carnival to sort of solve problems. You have a path of redemption. You have a path of destruction. So what do you guys see as the path of redemption for this, to solve this problem?
So we can't necessarily bring water back to the creek. So probably a replacement industry to create some other source of job to keep people there and working there.
I think it also depends on what type of corruption and demonic corruption we find here, and how deeply it is spread.
So do you think it's some kind of demonic thing that's making this smell of fish that's keeping people away?
Maybe I didn't.
Could be.
Like I thought that the DM makes that up, but we can.
No, I mean I'm getting ideas. It
could be. It could be just some pissed off fish god.
Okay.
Who lives somewhere. And
it's mostly what you guys might think it might be.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
but I mean, I guess if we, this is not the first city or town we're stopping in, and some of us have probably been with the carnival for a long, long, long time. So I guess in most cities that we come across, either people are just really hopeless and destitute, and some demonic influence of the darkness on top of that. And I would assume that dealing with the darkness would probably also help people in some way. Maybe not, depends on what it is, but it might help sort of, if you can
we probably
give people back their belief in themselves or something.
Okay.
Nice like that.
We probably
if we can make it rain, even better.
Yeah. We probably don't need to know the exact nature of the corruption. We can probably find that out in place, though. But I do agree with the path of redemption that it's something new needs to be here that can sustain the town, right?
Yeah. And that's not what the source of corruption is. I just wanted to know what you guys might think it will, and sort of take ideas from what you guys might, just so, because I don't really know what it is yet.
Whenever I have an idea, I will openly speculate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you see the path of destruction being?
So it sounds like there's the pretty strong criminal element. I guess them becoming empowered to essentially move out of the shadows and take their operation, just kind of like take over the town. So like right now, I imagine we have kind of like an impotent mayor and a police force that has zero resources to really do anything, but the criminal element is still mostly hidden. But maybe the path of corruption is the criminal element just kind of like elects their own mayor, takes over the police force, and just kind of sweeps in. Is like, okay, the city is ours now.
Okay.
It's an interesting reading. Like I read it a different way, right?
It could be a comp. I mean, it doesn't have to be one specific. It could be a big combination.
Yeah, because I was thinking, okay, it means so there's the problem. And one way to solve the problem is through redemption, and another way would be through destruction. But what you're suggesting is, if nothing, like
these are two options that you have that sort of goes on the paths that you take through play.
Yeah.
So you sort of pick as you play. You have like an apocalypse timer. And you have things that are picked by each like decision that you make. It was very interesting reading the book. It's sort of like a choose your own adventure story. Crossroads Carnival is. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that sort of sense, Petra, when you read through it.
Yeah, sort of. I think I understood a little bit differently, namely that I didn't, maybe I misread it, but I didn't understood it the way that the players would have to choose right from the get-go, but you just see how things develop. And then at the end, you sort of come to a consensus of saying, okay, either we fucked up the town, or maybe we fucked it up a little bit, but hey, overall, we
I definitely get that. I definitely get that. I'm more thinking of the path that sheet in the book.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely interesting, and I think it makes it interesting also. Sort of the dynamic between the players, because I know Marvar, she is, I mean, she has still humanity in her, but very little. So I don't think she would mind just tearing a town to pieces.
Yeah. I think I definitely think that it's something. It can go either way for the players. But I think it's going to be something that you guys figure out whichever destruction or whichever path at the end, just like Petra said.
Yeah, but I do think the destruction path is probably some kind of confrontation with the fish mob.
Yeah, or whatever the source of corruption is.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to say that the game, as in the version it is in right now, leaves it's very vague.
Yes, 100%. Right? Yes.
Very interpretive, yeah.
The whole, what does it mean to redeem the city?
I also think it's like, it also means for us to, okay, now we have thought a bit about that. We don't have to have a definitive answer right now. But it kind of creates we have a baseline, and when we later reach a point, we can go back to this and we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree.
So redemption would be, in one word, new industry, and destruction would be the fish mob. Either they come to power and control the city, or they are destroyed. Like, this can be viewed as completely separate from player characters even, right?
Right. It also says in the, and I guess you can take that literally or just as a suggestion, but in the play material it says that when you destroy whatever type of darkness befalls or has befallen the city, you usually leave it destroyed. In a way of, frankly, it's something that I don't fully understand from a logical point of view, but I guess agree. It's more like it has infested the town, and when you destroy it, you kind of destroy parts of the people too, in a kind of way, and then everything goes down the drain and everybody has to leave.
Because there's actually two, and you might get this too, Petra, there's actually two ways to play the game. There's like two different tracks to play it. There's a way to play it like a one night only way, and then there's a way to play it in a long form. Right. And since we're going to do 2 sessions, we're sort of combining both of them. And so that's how you have the 2 different ways with the path of redemption and path of destruction. And it's a lot of it, I think, has to do with it being sort of a alpha Ashcan version, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if you just play it as one shot, ultimately it doesn't really matter.
You just solve
how it ends, but
who's doing it.
But if you go through this track, there are special effects that are triggered depending on if you redeemed the city and perhaps yourself, or if you destroyed it, and sort of to ring in the end times.
Okay. Yeah. I think both of them are good, and we can, as we play, I think we can sort of naturally figure out.
Sure.
If we're just going to solve the mystery, or if we're going to get a little apocalyptic. If that works for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So we're going to go and describe the carnival a little bit. So who is the manager, and what's unnatural about the manager? And I have a list of names if you guys don't want to. I have the sheet pulled up with the GM sheet pulled up with all the names if you guys don't want to name NPCs or anything.
Yeah, okay, if you have a cool name there.
There's Billy and Dolores, Ursula.
I like Dolores.
I went with Dolores last time.
Dolores? Oh, okay. I just like that it makes me think of like a cute little old lady running a circus.
I like Dolores too.
I basically let her look like almost like the female version of the Penguin from Batman. But she was a hack in disguise who ate little children.
Do we want to do something a little bit different then?
Yeah.
Or
I do like the name Dolores, though. I would like to keep. I really I was drawn to that name, though. But we can definitely do something different. But I do like the name Dolores. If everyone's cool with it,
Yeah.
or
It literally means sorrows, by the way.
or alternatively, my second choice was Edith. I like the name Edith.
I
Ooh.
do like Edith.
I like Edith too.
I'm just thinking maybe it's just because Ethan was talking about the little old librarians that he's working with now, but I was thinking of like just Edith as a quiet librarian with big horn rimmed glasses, found a grimoire and decided to open a crazy circus of darkness.
I like
Yes.
that.
And it's funny because I had a little bit of that image of her having a bit of a stern look, sort of like bun, her head in a very strict bun, and then these glasses, and like she might even look a little bit out of place, like she doesn't really belong there.
Okay, stern.
But
No
now I have
one
this image of her opening the grimoire and just everything just popped out of there.
I think that both works very well together. Also, I like the idea that, for one, she's never being looked at as the manager by any visitors, right? And if there is ever the case where someone, like when there's an escalation, like whatever, the town sheriff, I really need to speak to who runs this place, that they never believe in the first minutes that, no, she's really the one who runs this carnival.
Oh,
Then what is unnatural about her?
I was gonna say it. I didn't realize I was muted. So Katie knows how many times I like.
She'll just be.
And
Don't
muted.
worry, I just minimized Zoom and fucked up the whole camera. So I'm pro streamer again, right, guys?
I was gonna say she should be like unnaturally convincing. Like she can handle the cops or whoever comes in and is like, "What's going on here?"
Oh,
She
like
can
naturally
handle them.
charismatic and stuff.
Yeah, but only if you leave if you leave them alone with her.
Oh, I like.
It's never a witness to that. But it's like,
So, like, no
Edith will
one-
handle it. It's like a phrase we have where everybody's like, oh, okay,
So like no one knows how she's that way.
yeah.
Go into her like quarters or 10 or whatever with like questioning like asshole cops, and then they leave and they're like smiling and they're like, yeah, we'll be sure to check out the circus later or whatever, but not like a sexual way, just magical way.
Okay.
Because I can see how that could be.
No, I can totally see that whoever she talks to, when they leave the carnival grounds, they look a little bit dumbfounded and just nod to themselves like, yes, that makes perfectly sense. It's
Yeah.
logical. And then they just leave. Oh, and Marva would totally want to try and find out what Edith's secret is. Probably at the risk of her life.
I like that. I like that a lot. I really like that. Would you now? Just a question for me, being GM. Would you? I know you said she found a grimoire. Would you consider her a witch, or was she just a normal person who found this grimoire and found some kind of power?
Maybe that she was like pretty much human, but you could argue that whatever dark fates aligned to get her this book means that she was it's kind of like if somebody is destined, they have the potential to be more, to
Okay.
do more. So she was kind of like the right person to find it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So she was destined to darkness. I like it. Okay. So who in the carnival is closest to darkness? And this can be one of you, or this can be an NPC that you want to throw in who's part of the carnival.
That orangutan.
Leave the orangutan alone. It's Taylor's best friend.
I was gonna say, I have a hard time believing that orangutan can be really dark. I don't know. I mean,
You haven't
There's
met
a reason he's called Tripod.
Yeah.
And one you don't tell the kids, right? That's how the song goes.
Yeah. Did you listen to the song, Matthias? Okay.
Yeah. But serious answer, it could actually, there's an argument to say it is Marva,
Oh yeah, she would be a good candidate.
Because you come like out of the literal darkness of the ocean, right?
Yep.
So
It was so cozy there.
because the question is who's closest to darkness, it doesn't mean who is most like the darkness.
That is true.
You can view that differently. You can be like, well, Marva knows the darkness best because...
Yeah, I would say, I guess I always considered the question who's closest to darkness, not necessarily who behaves in the most creepiest ways, but who has the thinnest tether that keeps them sort of on the side of humanity.
And look at where Marva came from. So I definitely see that. Yeah, I agree. I like that a lot. Why did your last stop go south?
Because there's no more states that far north. We couldn't get into Canada.
God damn it, Tyler. Well, this is it, guys. We're gonna end. I'll see you later.
Let's
That was the apocalypse ending, right? That was.
Let's blame the orangutan.
Oh my god, did he attack someone and like maul them?
Yeah, just straight up rip the arm off a person.
Rip their face off.
Yeah, I think he got into the cocaine a bit too much.
Is Tripod a drug addict?
Well, they're a dealer, man.
I think he
don't supply.
He just enjoys drinking Coke.
Or maybe he was just
Cool, refreshing taste.
Mistaken. Maybe part of whatever act he's involved in involves him just drinking stuff and maybe pretending to be drunk to make people laugh. But then somebody, I think, Taylor, was it you who talked about Dr. Bliss, someone who just stops by and has all these weird magical little, make everything better things, and just Tripod saw that and thought it was, usually it's fine to just randomly drink stuff from bottles.
Like the wrong bottle got put out for the show. Yeah, if somebody wants to adopt Dr. Bliss as one of their NPCs, I already have my 2. I guess I could just have 3 NPCs.
Yeah, I will put Dr. Bliss there. It's not a big deal at all.
Oh, you asked for only 2? I also have 3.
Yeah, that's not a big deal. I don't really care.
I even cheated. I think I had 4, but...
So does Tripod actually belong to someone? Is he somewhat sentient? Because I would think that if he's more like the partner or a pet of someone, that person would be really pissed if they found out that the orangutan drinks something from Dr. Bliss's cabinet, and maybe even thinking that he did it on purpose, that he, on purpose switched like bottles or something like that.
He could be like a solo sideshow. He probably was like in a cage before, and he was just for the kids. So, come see this orangutan.
So what I like about the orangutan idea is if we all treat him as not being something out of the ordinary, and that we actually never show how this is addressed, that, well, this is an orangutan and not a person.
Oh, okay, so like whether or not the orangutan is actually sentient or like whatever level of cognizance he may or may not have, we all just kind of treat him like a person.
Ain't none of our business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. This could actually be the answer to the next one. When the carnival doesn't belong, but why are they accepted?
It's Tripod.
It's Tripod.
He cleans up after himself, so we ain't gonna make no bother.
I have an idea because I had too many NPCs.
Yeah.
And I was thinking one option could be Marcel. Marcel, the cat trainer, but for not the big cats, like for your house cats.
He's a cat birder.
Yeah, he's a bit strange and French, and the cats actually behave and do what he's got a good line to the cats. That's true, but he doesn't actually it's not an act because that doesn't really draw a crowd. Everybody knows your typical cat that runs around and.
Okay.
Is he then the one human that we have in the carnival, or is that somebody else?
Do we just have one human who's just a normal person and doesn't necessarily realize we're all just crazy monsters, or do they realize it? And it's like one of the. I mean,
you all speak for yourselves, right?
It's not really specified. I think it just says that it was one of the questions, right, Katie?
Yeah, who is utterly human, but why are they allowed in?
I feel like we probably have some hands who are human.
And that could
So,
be a
the
group. Yeah, like there maybe you have some workers who are totally human.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm thinking about in terms of how freak culture was and how people were kind of exploited, but it was also their only opportunity to have work. It'd be kind of interesting if there's somebody who did have a real medical condition that would have put them in a freak show, carnival circus.
Oh, sure.
It's not because they're magical and monstrous and some weird supernatural thing. They're just a person with the genetic disorder, and we're like, yeah, you were rejected by humans, and even though we're not humans, we'll be accepted.
Was it Evan Peters in American Horror Story Circuit Freak Show where you just had the hands?
Yeah, he was lobster boy, because there was an actual lobster girl, or I think more than one. I mean, it would be funny if the one person who's utterly human among us looks really freakish, and everybody would think that they're, they have to be, they can't be human.
How ironic would that be?
Maybe
or just someone who's super tattooed, how they used to be the serpent tattoos. But we have a snake. We have snake charmers.
We have an actual snake boy.
Yeah, but they had other tattoos or the piercings and stuff like that.
It's just called the spider.
You could have just the 400-pound woman or man or something.
I like that in the sense of that they also, what they do for us is they work the ticket booth. Mm-hmm. And they're super quick on the draw.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Maybe
they're a good shot.
Maybe their name is... I like the name Ulysses. You like that name, guys?
Yeah.
I like that name. Ulysses. 400-pound man. Ticket booth worker. And... great shot. Okay. So, all of you, we can go around, whoever wants to start first. Just, where is your tent? How's it decorated? And what does your poster look like? What the rubes call you? That kind of thing.
Do you want to call on us so we know?
Yeah, okay. I can call on you. I wasn't going to, but we can't. Matthias, you can go first. Sebastian.
Pass me for a moment, please.
Okay. Tamsin.
Tamsin, the snake charmer, probably has a tent not in the main thorough, the main way. It's a little bit more out of the way because it's not going to be a mainstream attraction. You don't necessarily want, it's not something kids running by are like, Mom, I want to go see the weird guy dance like a snake with a snake.
I want to see a snake.
Yeah.
See the snake.
I mean, there's probably the oh, look, he got a snake. So it's a little bit more off to the side. It's something that people probably look for, since smell is such a big deal in this place. Mm-hmm. I think that Tamsin has incenses to make it, one, smoky and mysterious, and that sort of exploitative, exotic.
Yeah.
You know, just a white dude. You get that kind of smoky curtains, closed tent. go in there and you see a cool, like, it's probably performative. There's probably like swords and blade, like maybe a little sword swallowing or something like that. And then the snake eats something. I fell into the vor again. I'm sorry.
We all should know that you can't.
No one would have noticed.
I wasn't thinking about it until you brought up the board.
I was gonna say you said the snake eats something, not someone.
Yes, ideally we don't eat all of the guests, but if they get too
ideally,
sometimes you gotta.
On my character sheet, there's like the "Who has your snake killed?" As a literal and actual question.
Look, guys. Sometimes you just gotta bore someone.
Had to make it about the vor, didn't you, Taylor?
Options are limited. I'm a snake person. They do like one thing,
and it's bore.
They
I'm so sorry.
I'm all for it.
Well, Tamsin knows that as long as he leaves me some piece, I won't tell on him. Don't forget to share.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, continue, please. Let's move away from this subject.
Please, yes, let's do. Do you want me to go through pitch card stuff?
We're gonna do that after NPCs, and then we're gonna take a break.
Okay.
Yeah, I've already got it. I've got it itinerary.
Okay. Then I think that's kind of my ideal. It's a colorful, curtainy pattern thing. Incense, smoky inside tent. If it's not busy, I probably just walk around
Mm-hmm.
and just like dance in the square and just kind of weave between people with the snake.
Okay, awesome. And if I'm not mistaken, okay, I'll actually ask that on your pitch cards. That's fine. So Serena, where's your tent and how's it decorated?
I think he has like a caravan instead of a tent.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense for us here.
It's super gaudy and like stereotypical, like bright purples and golds. And then there's a sign out front that says "Get your fortune."
Okay.
Inside, and then inside would be like, all the bullshit. That's like a crystal ball and a small round table, and like there's like dark covering everywhere.
Curtains and
candles.
stuff, candles,
And
yeah.
tarot cards, and then probably behind one of those curtains is like her space, like where she sleeps, and like food and.
Awesome. I like that. That's my aesthetic. Marva, where is your tent and how is it decorated?
I would say that her tent is a little bit more sort of closer to the entrance because at least during the day, having the Princess of the Sea, so it works quite well to attract children. And during the day, she mostly behaves and puts on a lovely show and dresses her upper half so children are actually allowed to come in and see her. And so the tent that she has might be a little bit taller than the other single performance tents, just so that she can get her big tank in there. And it's in the also the colors of the tent. I would say it's striped like blue, like dark blue and light blue.
Okay.
And then on the poster, there's like a banner, and it's sort of painted on cloth, and you see her richly embellished and definitely a little bit exaggerated. Like she looks a little bit more fairy-ish than she actually does, and it says sort of like in fancy letters, Marva, the Princess of the Sea. And so inside, her big tank is in the middle of the tank, and then people can move around. And you would see on the ceiling there's a metal construction, and there's sort of like 2 tracks. And then before and after her show, this is and you see some rolls. So it's basically like a lifting system, so that they can get her in and out of the tank. Because she has a smaller tank in sort of like a private area where she usually sleeps in and whatnot, and spends a lot of time. And and also I would say that the floor in her tent, there's always sand, so they always get sand from somewhere or bring it along, and so it's a fairly soft ground, and yeah.
I love this description. Yes. Okay, Sebastian.
Yeah, I know. So Sebastian's tent is actually kind of right across from Marver's. So also close to the entrance, but it's not as high. So it's the like Marver's tent is the one that catches the eye, and that's like, ooh, what mysteries await us here today, right? While Sebastian's tent is kind of the first attraction that's still very down to earth, down to the ground, and it's actually a picture. I'm gonna post in chat. It's a World War One storage tent. So it's super muted color, right? And it's got in the middle at the top, it's got a big sign that's his performer name is just the Belgian, even though Sebastian is Dutch German, but that doesn't matter. It's the Belgian, and that's where like any visitor to the carnival gets one chance to try to best him in arm wrestling.
Oh, I like that a lot. That's very nice.
And one small little detail, because it's very sparse, and so that's like where like a first little crowd forms and there's cheering, but that's right. It's not the spectacularness that will still follow in the other tents. So that's why it's up in front, and it's the first thing to get like people riled up, and there's actually like a couple of paces in front of the tent. There's this there's this weight that sits there, which is and I think the big sign, or like it's actually in white painted on it. It's a big metal thing with like a ring attached at the top, and it says like half a ton or something like that, right?
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So people are teased by that. Like this is like not something anybody watches. People can try to push it or lift it, and it's a setup for what's obviously later to come. So yeah.
Nice. I like that. And final question for the carnival is, what's the one thing that the carnies are forbidden from?
Like, are we thinking activities we aren't supposed to engage in?
It can be anything. Relationships with the rubes, drugs, leaving the grounds, anything like that.
I mean, one thing for sure was, if we just go with the real circumstances, is that you weren't supposed to basically show your goods outside the campground, the carnival ground, because people were supposed to pay money to see you, right? So,
okay,
like Marva would definitely have to cover up her lower half if she might not even be allowed to go to town, maybe just in. Or maybe she is, but...
Or maybe she had to wear, like, a blanket over...
Yeah.
Because sure. Doesn't Sebastian wheel you around, I believe? Is that what you said?
No, we came up with this... So we had that... the mermaid in the game that I ran, she had a wheelchair, and I'm going with that idea, but I'm making it motorized.
Okay.
But it's a really... It's maybe one of the other carnies made it. It looks like it should fall apart any second.
Yeah.
But she can hobble along.
Yeah, so like maybe she has to, wear a blanket, cover that up, because know that's why people come to see you, is you're a mermaid. You have a tail, so you can't show that.
I like the idea of, not being able to show our weirdness outside, but I think to add a little bit of the flavor of Edith and this kind of like super strict, stern, and mysterious person, have something with like a very strict curfew. Like there are hours where like at this time or like you can't be outside of the tent of the grounds whatsoever after dark.
Love it.
Or even like after, 9
I would, yeah, but maybe a little weirder from the times, right? You can't go out before noon. Like, right? It's a range, so yeah, you've got to be in at a certain point.
Yeah, you do have a show to perform.
There's a show to perform, so you have to be in by sundown, but you can't be outside of the grounds before noon or something, or
regardless of whether or not you have a show. And then it's also also maybe just to get weirder, we have to come back if the wind blows west, or just like something like that. We're like, it's not explained. Like if the rain falls hard, like if the dust climbs, like you return. Don't ask questions. Maybe that's something we're not allowed to do.
And we can't go to church.
And you can't go to church. So don't leave grounds after noon.
With like strict details.
Can't leave if the wind blows west.
And I bet that there's always this talk going on. It's like, she and her stupid little rules, and people always speculating whether she's just a bitch and just makes up these things that are not even true. But then everybody is just scared enough of her to not
test it.
But then there are these stories that allegedly, 10, 20 years ago, there was this one guy or this one performer and she didn't follow the rules, and then this terrible thing happened to her. So yeah, nobody really knows.
I imagine now, like, she just has very much like the royalty rules. Like, if she's eating with us, when she stops eating, we stop eating.
Don't look her in the eye. I like that. That's very good.
Also, the time the curfew ends, it's not noon. It's 11:37 a.m.
Yeah, it's specific.
None of us have watches.
So we just go by it's safest if it's noon.
If you're on time, you're actually late, and if you're late, you're in trouble.
I like that.
We've probably all gotten really good at using like a sundial.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can do our NPCs. Sebastian, what were yours?
Oh my God! Wait a second.
What?
The main tent, or like if there's like a central tent or a pole we set up, the sundial's actually the setup of our entire carnival.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, so you tell the time by the shadow on the pole
On
of the
which
tent.
tent to sit by the
I like that. I'm gonna actually make that a note. I like that.
That's really cool.
I'm gonna make that a note.
We can even say.
Then we would say it's insert the name clock.
Yeah.
Like it's 10 o'clock. We have to get home now.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's kind of interesting. We could be Circus of the Sun dial, and then just like put it in French so it sounds more mysterious.
I like that so
Cirque
much.
du what? Cirque du
Soleil.
Soleil.
I love
I
it.
hate this.
No, you don't.
We're the first.
Yeah, exactly.
Cirque du Soleil.
We had it first.
Yep.
Or actually, what would that be in German?
Sonnenzirkus. It doesn't sound very nice.
Okay.
And even if you make a more fancier grammatical construction, it's Circus der Sonne.
I actually really like that.
Or Carnival. We also have the word Carnival, although we use it in a different context, not as a like we would call it a circus.
Oh, I love language. Okay, Sebastian, what are your NPCs?
Well, I kind of gave 2 of them away already, but I have another 2, right?
Yeah.
Spoilers.
And I think it's Sammy and Minnie, and Sammy is a black man, and Minnie is I think she's Mexican, and they're married, and they are our high wire cyclists and jugglers.
Oh, I love that.
And they have like this couple performance that they do.
I love that a lot. Was that the two of them, or do you have another?
Those were the two.
Okay.
Already talked about Marcel, right?
Yes.
And the ticket booth. What was his name?
Ulysses.
Ulysses. And maybe I'll have another idea in a moment. Those are two people. Right?
Okay. Tamsin, do you want to say your other one besides your orangutan and Dr. Bliss?
Sure. And as a note, I did steal all three of my NPCs from the song Live Circus by Tom Waits. Two different Tom Waits songs feature on Tamsin's playlist. I really like Tom Waits and that maniacal sort of mad sadness of circus folk. So my three NPCs would be, Dr. Bliss, who deals in the tonics and preparations that help us all keep going, and then Tripod, the orangutan, who we've discussed, and then the final one was Mira, the one-eyed ostrich and camel tamer. But I think we can kind of expand that to maybe she works with Marcel, because Marcel's the French cat tamer, right?
House cat trainer.
House cat trainer. So she probably does a lot of those, like the camel, like a donkey jumps on a camel's back, or like the more showier, like look at these animals dancing and doing different things. I imagine. Oh, and she also has, so she has one eye, which probably looks partially scarred.
If you want to drop that fan art in chat, you can.
Yeah,
it's
I
really
wish
good.
I knew who the artist was. I just Google searched and then found it on Flickr. I will reverse image search it. Maybe it's Glam Buccaneer.
Glam Buccaneer, maybe, that user.
But yeah, I imagine she probably looks super intimidating and super no nonsense, but is actually just kind of a sweetheart deep down. I guess like Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, I like that. Serena, your NPCs.
Everett, who is a lion tamer. That's about it. He wears a lot of hair pomade, and he's a runaway from prison.
Okay.
We're not even sure if Everett's real.
So we have lions.
There's a lot of animals by now.
I just realized who it is, Charlie. I hate it.
Charlie, would you say he's a Dapper Dan man?
That's all he uses.
He's always in a tight spot.
He's very charismatic.
Yeah. What's your other one?
It's gonna be like a youth, probably like a 16-year-old named Rigby, who gets in a lot of fights, and we don't know where he came from, but he holds his own.
He just he showed up one day?
Yeah, he's just a hand.
Okay.
Like, he just helps out.
Okay. Marva, your NPCs.
Mm-hmm. So one is Lucille. She looks like a shy little girl. I mean, not girl, like 15, 16.
Okay.
And Marva has sort of hired her to be her helper and almost like a maid. Even though Lucille is a performer herself, or if we have a 10 and 110, she's actually a changeling.
Okay.
And she poses as, so she's advertised as the most ugly girl, the ugliest girl in the world. And then every 5 years or so, she slightly changes that ugly image so that we can draw in new people and say, hey, we found someone who's even uglier than her.
Cool. I like it.
And but and so with the changeling, I think that the tragedy about changelings is that at some point they begin to forget who they originally were.
Yeah.
So
and
no
Lucille,
one, not even she, knows how old she actually is.
yeah, that's true. I mean, she has like she would have she has a little notebook in which she has almost like a very short version of her life story, and she writes it down again to not forget it, but she doesn't even know if that is her real life story. And so but she has like she's sweet and whatnot, but she has a mind of her own, and Marva can be quite a bitch. So if she gets too bit on the diva side, Lucille would just go. And if that's the case, if Lucille has had enough of Marva calls for Hank is a young lad. I think he's just 18 or 19, but he's really tall because he in reality is a half giant, and he's a very gentle soul and not the brightest out there. But that's why Marva likes to call on him when she knows that she already pissed off everybody else on that day, because he doesn't really understand. Or at least it looks like he doesn't understand when she's being bitchy towards him. And also, I think Hank and Tripod are best friends.
Oh, yes. Oh, completely, yes.
Because Hank is really tall, and he always looks a little bit dumbfounded. He has a cap and suspenders.
I think Tripod and Hank share a room or a tent. Like,
yes.
I think Tripod sleeps in a hammock above Hank.
Hank probably is the only, or the one who understands Tripod the best. Like, he actually believes that he knows his signs or whatever he uses to communicate, and the look and whatnot.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, that building our things are done. We're gonna quickly go through our character pitch cards, and then we're gonna take a break, and then we can start playing. So this has got time has been great actually. So I'm very glad. So we're gonna start. I'm just gonna go down the order in the book. So we're gonna start with oh, thank you for the bits, Jim. Thank you very much. The mermaid. So your character is Marva. What look did you pick?
I went with pearlescent. So she does have. So I would say her color palette is shades of green and gray. So her skin does have a nice pearlescent tone to it. But it's not. She's not exactly a fairy tale mermaid because her hair. So she tries to style her hair as is the fashion, sort of. Curls it with a hot iron, but obviously she's in the water all the time, so that's not really working out for her. But she's also trying to putting on lipstick and like red lipstick, but then she's in the water all the time, so it's usually smeared a little bit, and the mascara as well, and yeah, but still pearlescent.
Okay, and what eyes did you pick?
Eyes, I actually went with unsettling, which is not on the list here, because she has this, her eyes all the time a little bit open up a little bit too wide, and I'm not going to do that because I'm going to forget about it and it would drive me nuts, but they have this intense stare to them that's a little bit unnerving. And as the longer the evening and the more performances she's given on any given day, the more the stare becomes prominent, and the more dangerous she might also be, sort of losing her patience.
Okay. And what was your origin?
I followed true love. Yes, I followed true love. So, I was in the ocean, and I was probably a little bit closer to the beach, and I saw this boat through a pair of binoculars, and through this pair of binoculars, I first laid eyes on who would become the love of my life, Helena, who was like an adventurous woman. Like, she was a scientist and always I don't know, exploring things, and she was also a pilot, in which she was extremely imposing. And then her ship, so they came into a storm, and she saved Helena, and for a few weeks or so, Marva thought that was it. They would be together now, and happily ever after. And until Helena sold Marva to a freak show.
Oh man.
However, I mean, it definitely killed a lot of humanity in Marva. But in order to hang on, she keeps telling herself that Helena had a good reason to sell her off. Like, she had no other way, because she needed the financial means in order to build up a life for the two of them. You understand? So, one day she will come back to me, obviously, and then we will have our sweet life together. So I just have to wait a little bit longer. And don't you worry, darling. One day she will come back to me.
Oh man, that hurts my heart. What is Marva's indulgence?
I was gonna say it's gonna stop hurting, because my indulgence is human flesh.
I remember that one now. Okay, great.
And so obviously it's not something that I can indulge in on a frequent basis, and it has to happen in a clandestine way. And so every now and then, if I meet someone who is a loner, someone who's really, really drunk, and who I think won't be missed, or at the very least won't miss a finger or two, or maybe an ear, I will lure them. They get a special after show performance from me, and
just like Chat said, sometimes you just get a hankering. you just gotta get a hankering. You just need a little nibble. How did you end up in the carnival? You were sold. That was answered.
Yeah.
How are you?
So
oh, sorry.
Maybe
go
you
ahead.
can help. Yeah, no. So maybe you can help me with that. I would say that either someone from our troupe saw me and sort of bought me, just offered enough money and sort of, or maybe I just conned some of the other freak show performers into getting out, and then I stumbled upon this troupe by accident. Either way, I'd say Marva has been with this carnival for a long, long, long time. She looks like she's in her early 20s, but she's at least 110, 120 years old.
So I like the idea, and if this is okay with you, of course, and all of you, I like the idea of the grimoire telling Edith where to find you all.
Ooh, yeah.
And I sort of like the idea of you being sold to, like, maybe someone who wasn't treating you in like this ethical way. Not that being in a carnival is that much more ethical, but you being treated in like in this being taken care of way, and Edith promising you, it's not going to be much better, but I'll let you do what you want, and Edith promising to take you away, and Edith understanding you in a way that these people didn't.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go with that.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Why are you fighting on the side of humanity? Or are you even fighting on the side of humanity, Marva? It really doesn't sound like you are.
Oh, darling, but I am. I've got to wait for my Helena to come back to me, of course.
Yes, I like it.
And then if somebody asks her, yeah, but what if she doesn't? She will smile, but the smile freezes on her face, and her eyes get just a little bit wider, and there's this tint of madness in her eyes, and you know that you might not want to ask a second time.
Great. I love this.
She still has this idea that one day they're gonna live together, have their own little house and a big pool, or like an artificially created pond behind the house where she can be in.
Why don't you give in to your monstrous nature?
Also has something to do with Helena, because I think that it was I've never said that to anybody, but I actually think that it was my fault that she sold me, aside from the fact that she needed the money. But when I lose my temper, I become like, I always have this tiny pointed and sharp teeth, but for the most part I can hide those aquatic features that are a little bit off-putting. Think of it as like Harry Potter with the merfolk.
Yes.
And when they do this all of a sudden, so that's basically what happens to her, and she could tell that Helena was not fond of that. So it's always like, oh, what would people think? Oh no, what would Helena think? You know.
So we know how you navigate the land. You have a sort of mechanical wheelchair that someone made you. What treasure did you bring with you from the ocean?
That would be the pair of binoculars that I mentioned earlier. She found it. She got it from a shipwreck that she found at the bottom of the ocean. Probably pulled it or pried it from the hand of some skeleton, and it's become twice as precious to her because, as I said, through the binoculars, she saw Helena for the first time.
Who helps you get around on land more than anyone else?
That would be Sebastian, because I have 2 tanks and I have the wheelchair, but I need to, get from one to the other. And since he's a strong man, he would have I guess a fairly easy time to just
sort of lift you up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Who are you in love with, and what about them draws you in, and what disgusts you?
Well, Helena, of course. Well, that's what she tells everybody, but the fact is that she wouldn't call it love. She would never call it love. No. But if she's honest to herself, she's kind of developed feelings for Tamsin because he is such a sweet boy.
Sweet
and
boy.
I mean, and he's also not. He doesn't necessarily say no to human flesh, from what she heard.
Sometimes you get a hankering.
Right. And but Taylor, remind me how does because I was thinking that because that's a question, what disgusts me, would perhaps, is he ashamed about the whole flesh eating thing? Because that would be something that.
So partially, but one of the question that I have that you are the answer for, or Marva's the answer for, is who tastes like fear and how do you frighten them deliberately? And I think one of the things that makes them so different is that Tamsin's backstory, which I'll get to, is very different, and Tamsin kind of almost pities that attachment and that obsession with Helena. And while he might care for Marva, he almost abuses that attachment that she has towards Helena. But they also kind of have that kinship of animalistic monstrousness, where they kind of okay, we get each other, so we kind of tolerate this shittiness that we can have for each other. But we have very different opinions on how we deal with relationships.
Yeah. Oh, you could very easily sort of torture her by just dropping hints at how long haven't you seen Helena? How many years has it been? Is she even alive? She's human. And then, but I think that Marva would also be disgusted by Tamsin simply based on the fact that she has begun to develop feelings for him, and she might even tell herself, "Oh, it's he's done something to me, stupid snake boy." Why would I fall for someone like that?
Stupid snake boy.
And then, she has all those theories. Dr. Bliss probably has his hands in that. Slipped her something.
I love it. I love that so much. Whose eyes can you feel linger on you too long, and why don't you stop them?
Well, it would leave. Serena is the one who's left. Serena, tell me, why are you looking at me?
Serena, why are you staring?
I'm the seer, so gotta see. I think she's just a very observant person in general. she knows too much about people through her powers, so.
Yeah, and then there's an extra question. Why don't I stop you from looking?
Yeah, why don't you?
I guess thinking about it, if she's a seer and she can see the future ostensibly, then she's the only one that might actually know if Helena could come back.
Are you curious about
That's
what
true.
she might know?
Ooh, that might actually make Marva to a certain extent afraid or scared of Serena. Like she's telling herself that when she stares at me, oh, she sees me and Helena in the future happily together. But what if not?
Mm-hmm.
So, ooh, the paranoia.
Yeah,
That's good.
I'll tell you what she sees. She sees either.
she sees you eating someone is what she sees. Just chomping down. Okay.
Yeah, and the Marva will be, okay, tell me. No, don't tell me. Or maybe you could tell me. Maybe just a little bit. Oh, no, you know what, darling? Don't tell me. Going underwater.
Just take a little swim. Next up is the seer. You chose the name Serena. What look did you pick?
I picked dangerous.
Ooh. What eyes?
Someone else's.
What's your origin?
An unwanted and irrevocable curse.
Wait. Like,
Are we
who's?
skipping past the someone else's eyes?
I picked that because I can imagine like that would make people more trusting of her when she's trying to like figure out like their shit, is if they like looked at her.
So are the eyes a family heirloom? Passed on from one generation to the next?
They're
Or do
magic eyes.
Do they change? Do they look
Yeah.
like?
They look
So-
like. They look like.
Like, do they look like when someone looks at her? Do they look like the person's eyes they trust the most?
Yes.
Ooh.
It's different for everyone.
For both eyes? Or is just one eye looking like
Both.
the other eye from Myra?
Nope, they both look like.
No,
whoever
she
you
didn't
trust
steal
the
Myra's
most.
eye.
They're her eyes. They just don't.
They
look
change. Yeah.
Okay.
That's so cool. I like that.
What is your indulgence, Serena?
Like getting close to others.
I love that one. That was a really good one. So how did you end up at the carnival?
It was a way to make money with this curse, and it was a good way to not make any lasting attachments.
Why are you fighting on the side of humanity?
Technically, I'm not. I'm fighting on the side of Serena.
Okay, so you're out for yourself.
Yeah, whatever side's gonna benefit me more is the side I'm gonna fight for.
Why don't you give in to your monstrous nature?
Because I don't want it to destroy me.
What sinister destiny is coming to claim you?
My curse.
In what way? Do you know how it's going? Has it claimed someone else in your family before?
Yep, it claims the people you love until you're left alone. And it's happened to every single woman in my family.
Oh, like practical magic style?
Yep.
Okay, I
I
like
have no originality.
I'm cool with it. Who has a malicious spirit? Oh, no, sorry. What lingering spirit haunts you and why?
Maybe like a childhood love that was claimed by the curse.
Okay. Do they have a name?
No. I don't need to know it.
Oh, you didn't even know it. That hurts. Whose future are you always trying to keep one step ahead of, and why don't you tell them?
Sebastian.
Why don't you tell them what is that future?
I'm not gonna tell them. I'm not gonna tell you.
Oh my god. Well, why don't you tell them that you're trying to keep ahead of it? Is it a bad future?
It could be. I think they're
I'm
handling
running
it
from
well.
something
You're running
Yeah.
from something? Okay.
in a way.
I
Yeah.
think they're handling it fine. So she hasn't stepped in yet.
Who comforts you when the darkness of your visions leave you fearful and sleepless?
I'll put Tamsin.
How does
All the girls love Tamsin.
All the girls love Tamsin. Sweet snake boy. How does Tamsin comfort you? Do you spend time talking to Tamsin?
He has a very comforting presence.
And,
Oh my God.
and then he bores you.
Relax.
Huh?
Just relax.
Tamsin's actually a really good cuddler.
Yeah, I figured they felt like
that cold blood.
It just wraps around you, you know?
There's no AC, so you need that cold.
I hate it.
In the Dust Bowl?
Who has a
Squeeze.
who has a malicious spirit following them, and why are you helping the spirit?
Okay, I was thinking Marva, and I feel like when Serena is like giving fortunes to people, and if they're like really shitty, she'll send them Marva's way because she knows that she'll take a little chomp chomp and give these people some karma.
Oh, so you're helping Marva.
Yeah, so, like-
You're not helping the spirit, you're helping Marva. Okay.
So like, if someone's really shitty, she'll be like, "Tell them Serena sent you."
So you're helping Marva get food.
You're my enabler.
I love
I'm
that.
a demon dealer.
Holy shit, that's so good. Okay. Yeah, that did not see that coming. Okay. Snake Charmer. Tamsin, what look did you pick?
It's me. I picked mysterious. So Tamsin is a young man, and I can explain some of the other things later. But he looks mostly human, but a little clammy, and like his skin tone is slightly off, and it's a little bit corpse-like, but not too much. It's
What?
mysterious. It's like,
So what's up with it?
yeah, yeah. We can explore that later.
What eyes did you pick?
Serpentine. So they are very obviously not human eyes. They look like snake eyes.
Okay. What's your origin?
My origin is a sacrificial offering. So the backstory that I had is Tamsin, with a different good Christian name, was raised in a very large family who, having fallen on rough times, Tamsin was just kind of like a smaller, frail boy, wasn't like pulling his weight, and he was like 18 or something and needed to be working. So his father, being weirdly and tertiarily involved with like Hermetic Order and like the Aleister Crowley things that were kind of in vogue at the time, sacrificed Tamsin on a bloody altar to the beast who crawls on his belly. So like from the Bible, the devil who tempted Eve was the beast who crawls on his belly, which is a snake. So whether or not that's the actual devil, it's this snake evilness. And, you know, stuck a dagger in his heart and killed him. And from the wound, Charybdis, the snake friend that is Tamsin's pal, crawled out of the heart wound hole and is the same color of the cold blue blood that was, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so that's Tamsin. So like Tamsin's pretty young, probably like early 20s, wandered around, and he's a little bit zen about it, where he was like, yeah, I was weak, so my father destroyed me to help my family, and now they are better, that I'm no longer there, and I need to get stronger so I can protect other people, and if somebody's weak, you destroy them.
Oh my god.
Makes sense. And if they're strong enough, they'll come back, like I did.
Oh god, why, Taylor?
And that's why Tamsin doesn't really know how to people very well.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Marva understands. What's your indulgence?
So my indulgence, there's a lot of that like cold reserve and that sort of like I need to get stronger. So I think showing weakness, and especially in terms of like the literal sense of like overindulgence, so like eating or like feasting or enjoying things for flavor, and enjoying things that are like decadent or unnecessary. Like imagine Tamsin's kind of by nature a little bit stoic and a little bit minimalist, so being able to actually enjoy flavor and actually enjoy like a hearty meal and not just efficient, like effective. Usually if it's enough, and that's all that I need. So the indulgence is going above and doing something to actually treat yourself.
Treat yourself. How did you end up at the carnival?
Probably classic story of ran away to join the circus.
Okay.
Because after the sacrifice and the rising again, I was like, well, I need to go somewhere. And then I came by the circus and was like, there's a lot of weird people here too.
And just never left.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you fighting on the side of humanity?
I think Tamsin still kind of identifies with that human origin and that idea of like my father had to do what he did to protect his family. So, like ultimately what you need to do is use power to protect. And so that's kind of where he's at. And we're like, yeah, that's just what you're supposed to do.
Why don't you give in to your monstrous nature?
What I wrote is, I do, when necessary.
Ah, okay. What makes your cold blood run hot, no matter how much you resist?
So I was a little bit confused about exactly what that was asking, whether it's like anger or like what gets me hot and bothered.
That is a confusing question.
Yeah.
Guess it could be either.
Yeah, I mean,
So I
could
think-
be.
True. Yeah. I wrote surrender. So like if somebody's giving up, so that idea of just like quitting is infuriating to Tamsin. Where like you don't just give up, because if you're here, you have to be present. You have to be here. And so if somebody is forfeiting their ability and their will, then that gets them angry.
Okay. What or who has your snake killed that you're keeping hidden?
So I imagine attendants who get too handsy or ask for too much or get too demanding or get out of hand or anything like that.
Yeah, I was going to add, if it was okay with you, that Edith probably has like a look that she gives you for certain attendants. Like I imagine even some of the other like people in performers know like that's something that can happen, that they just know that they can disappear because you know that they can come to Tamsin.
Mm-hmm. And Vor jokes aside, sorry, I'll just try to keep those down.
I hate you.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for inviting me to your game, Katie. I'm having a good time. Yeah. Tamsin probably doesn't really eat people himself or like with his own mouth, but his kind of like soul bond link with the snake, there's a certain satisfaction and fulfillment that Tamsin gets when Charybdis eats a person.
Okay.
So that's something where like, since Tamsin isn't very physically strong or isn't very like, can't really like strike a person dead, he's got the poison thing, which is pretty rad, but like it's usually Charybdis strikes, Charybdis eats a person whole, and that sort of like soul bond connected thing is like, yeah, this is, we are feeding on the weak and becoming stronger.
Okay.
How fast does Charybdis digest people? Because normally a snake would eat
My
what?
question
Only...
too.
Mm-hmm.
That we have like a timing thing.
I was going to say, if we have a lot of people that we have to make go away.
It's not an efficient system. No.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I was more thinking when that happens, you're out for the next 3-4 days for any performances.
Yeah, until Charybdis no longer has a human-shaped lump in her body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's something where, like, it's a rare thing. It will get them in trouble.
I mean, maybe you could have a backup snake.
And it's also, like, Charybdis is kind of like a magical snake and is kind of like Tamsin's direct link to the darkness and is kind of like representative of the darkness. So I imagine maybe is a little bit like can still be like supernaturally fast, but yeah, it's not an efficient system. It's like takes him out of commission for at least like a day or so, which is, you know, bad if you're only in town for one night only.
So I guess it's like an emergency system if things really get out of hand.
Yeah. Or if you're only in town for one night only, I guess you eat somebody and then you digest on the train.
Yeah, you travel. Okay. Who acts as though they own you, and how do you show them that they don't?
I have Sebastian for that. Sebastian has a certain protectiveness over Tamsin that Tamsin doesn't necessarily appreciate because Sebastian represents a very physical and literal like power. And so Tamsin feels like he has to prove that he's strong too, just in a different way, or he's capable too. Weird father projection issues.
Who tastes like fear, and how do you frighten them deliberately?
That would be Marva. And the way that Tamsin has kind of understood that his father had to make the sacrifice that he made to help his family, that's what he kind of sees, where like Helena probably made a sacrifice that Tamsin sees as like, yeah, Helena made a sacrifice to leave you behind to be self-serving, and that's okay. Like, she made the decision that she made to leave you behind. And that's kind of what Tamsin feels about it, and probably doesn't say that outright.
I was going to say
that's
Marva will kill you.
Exactly. Well, like, yeah. And Tamsin is no
let's
fool.
find out if Snakeboy can swim.
So that's kind of like the feeling that motivates Tamsin's like interactions with Marva, because he knows that she's good and kind, but like he kind of has that pity where like she shouldn't be hanging on to this. She has this fear, and she would be much stronger. She would be much better if she didn't have this fear of essentially Helena returning or Helena never returning. Just accept that you are both better off.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't that be like quitting?
I think what makes it internally consistent for Tamsin is because it's like still kind of like self-motivated, where like there's a certain like it's is giving up on yourself. Like you can like other people get sacrificed, but like it's the strength of self, that kind of like self-focused stoicism.
And I can see Tamsin being the kind of person to like lie to himself, maybe also.
Oh yeah, he's also 20, so he doesn't got shit figured out.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would make sense that basically he's considering what Marva is doing right now almost as a state of giving up on herself, sort of holding herself back. And
And last one, who do you turn to when you need to feel loved, and how do you pay them?
That would be the Serena, the seer. I think there's a certain comfort in knowing just kind of like the value of the visions and the value of that knowledge that the seer has, is that like, is this all worth like is what we're doing worth it? Is like fighting the darkness, fighting the monsters, like this pursuit of power. And I think when Tamsin gets unsure of himself, Serena's the kind of one that he just checks in with, like, is this all worth it? Is it making a difference? And I think kind of finding that footing is what's valuable for Tamsin. In terms of what Tamsin pays Serena with, I don't know. Charlie, what is Serena interested in?
I mean, if he comforts her, it can be kind of like a...
I mean, isn't her indulgence getting close to people?
Yeah.
Okay. So they just kind of, they comfort each other.
Session.
Wrapping
Like
around.
They cuddle and talk about their problems.
The thing is that with Taylor sharing this ridiculously adorable snake gif, you know, where the snake blushes,
Yeah.
I have a very hard time seeing him or the snake as evil. It's
Well, he's not really evil. He's just a little mixed up about stuff.
He's 20. All 20-year-olds just like a little bit of war, right?
So, as
sure. When did you go through your war phase? Before or after being goth? A while.
Guess what? I'm sorry.
War. We've all been there.
It's not actually my tastes particularly.
Matthias, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So if you two are like cuddle buddies, right? And it's because for Serena it fulfills in part your indulgence. Is it so? Have you like have you cuddled while Tamsin was experiencing the deeply ecstatic feeling of having just feasted?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean,
I'm sure they've hung out.
probably. But like unrelated to that, there's probably part of the hanging out and the cuddling that ties into Tamsin's indulgence of like enjoying
Things,
comfort
yeah.
that, you know, like unnecessary. Like these are things that he considers like unnecessary. So yeah.
Yeah, it's almost more a question for Serena, right? Because what I'm hearing there is that you like to get close to people because you pick up something more than other people if you're close to them, right?
Well, her liking people is because in my head, the curse that her family has is like whenever they love someone, like truly love them, the curse takes them. So she likes to get as close as she can.
Oh, okay. So this is not a
without losing them.
You play emotional chicken.
Yeah.
I thought that Matthias was going into the direction of thinking that when you're cuddling and Charybdis is there and he's all fat, there's a person in him. Is Serena able to pick up something from that person still? The spirit that lingers.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
just imagine they're lying cuddling and Charybdis like burps a little and then
A little spirit comes out.
I think Serena
Okay,
just
Google.
minds her own business.
Serena's just like, no, not my problem.
Do you mind your own business? I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Last but not least, our strong man, Sebastian. What look did you pick?
Russian. Godlike.
Godlike. Yes. What eyes did you pick?
This was really hard, but painful.
Okay. What origin did you pick?
Last of a giant race.
Ooh. And what is your indulgence?
So his indulgence is, and putting it into one word, I would call it romantic mirth. And I'm talking more like the romantic kind of sense.
Yeah.
The reason why one reason why he picked to come to America in the first place was because he was completely enamored with like Wild West romantic. And
Please tell me he read Kalmai.
yeah, exactly. That's where I'm thinking. But I don't think anybody else will get that reference. It's a German author who wrote adventure books about the Wild West while never having been anywhere near close to that.
Oh, okay.
And they're like they were so popular that they were for a while like the prime movies being made, and they were not even being filmed in the US. They're being filmed in
Germany, actually. I think Germany and Italy.
in part, and in Eastern Europe, in Romania, because they have a couple of places there, I think, that were like excellent stand-ins. But yeah,
and together with Italo Westerns, they sort of re-injected the energy into US Westerns, sort of. But anyway.
their horrible vision, painting everything really strangely wrong.
Very romanticized, and you can do a lot from the standpoint of appropriation of white men.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So like the main hero on there is just called Old Shatterhand, which kind of already, yes, exactly, the way Katie's looking expresses this perfectly.
Yep.
But Sebastian has read all of those books, and he decided to come to the New World, to America, for that. And this is still what his indulgence is, in a sense, though by now, like it's the turning a blind eye to the things that are wrong, and engaging like in very superficial, well, let's just put on a happy face for above everything, right? Can just pretend we're happy, then we'll be happy, right? And that kind of comes a little bit through that he at least out front, he's often kind of the front man in the carnival, right? Like I said in the beginning, right? When people come in, and he treats all of that with like a good-naturedness, and so he kind of often brushes over maybe things you shouldn't.
Things that should bother him, he lets it go. Yeah. Okay. Does he have and this is just a question from me, does he have a tendency to eventually blow up in anger, or does he bury it so much? Yeah,
that touches upon some of the questions already.
Okay, good. I like that. How did you end up at the carnival with this romantic drive to explore America?
Well, so after he arrived in the States, once again, like kind of life catching up with him, he was kind of destitute. Like he couldn't find a job. There was nothing for him to do. And what I wrote down is that he joined the carnival way back in the East, on Coney Island, when it's been a while since we last were there, right? And we might never return there.
If it's all right with you, Matthias, I think you're probably like Edith's right-hand man. If you've been with it that long and you're like one of the main forces, I think like Edith probably, I don't think Edith trusts anyone, but if she had to say she trusts anyone, it's probably Sebastian.
Yeah, like I often built the front.
Yeah.
Basically, being like the front man, or
if there's a problem,
making the super serious decisions.
Yeah.
But maybe like,
like if there's a problem, she'd call Sebastian first to take care of something if she couldn't take care of it herself.
Yeah, or if someone had a problem with the carnival, they probably might think, I need to talk to Sebastian.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Some people probably see you as a proxy for Edith.
Yeah, potentially.
Why are you fighting on the side of humanity?
Because there's nothing else to fight for anymore. Like, all my people are gone. I have no idea what else I'm supposed to be doing. There's no one else in the universe that I could be fighting for anymore.
Okay. Well, that hurt my heart. Why don't you give in to your monstrous nature?
Guilt. I have the terrible sense that this is all my fault.
What about your strength frightens you?
That any problem is so easily broken and then would just be taken care of. Like if I could just break the problem, then the problem isn't a problem anymore.
Whose innocence did you destroy in your anger?
So I wrote down Belgium's.
Destroyed Belgium's?
Yes.
Please elaborate on that.
The first thing that Sebastian, or where there's any record of Sebastian, or what maybe he remembers or has ever told anybody about is he was there at the Battle of Liège.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the reason the Germans were delayed 4 to 6 days before reaching the French border. It's the first battle of the Great War. So basically resisting that, being there, and that is like getting people to resist, and thus them losing their innocence in the process.
Okay. And who do you view as yours, and how do you show them?
That's Tamsin. Like, I have the... Yeah.
Aww.
Tamsin's like a son to me, and I'm like convinced he needs to be sheltered from the burden of the world. Like, he's pure in his being, and what I don't know how much I know of his story, but all of that. Yeah, so I try to keep everything away from Tamsin. That could be in any way corruptive. Like, I know there are other younger people in the carnival, like what's his name?
Hank?
Hank.
Well, yeah, Hank, but there was also and Hank's all right. Like, you don't have to worry about Hank.
Which one? Everett?
Yeah, Everett, right? The one who gets into fights?
Rigby.
Rigby,
Everett
exactly.
An old ass man.
Oh, I didn't.
Rigby is like, for some reason I'm not really interested in Rigby. Rigby, I imagine he's probably even a pickpocket for us. Like,
I can see that, yeah.
He steals from rich people, which is like he's
like an all-around
you gotta pay a little bit more, but we won't tell you.
He's an all-around troublemaker. Yeah, that's what Rigby is. Yeah. Yeah, that's so sweet, Matthias, and I hate it. Thank you.
Probably say that you, Sebastian, knows like the details, just in a bullet list, perfunctory fashion of Tamsin's backstory, because he's not really like ashamed of it. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, this is what happened. I got sacrificed because I was too weak and frail, and now I'm like a snake person, and so that's good.
I just got sacrificed. No big deal.
Yeah, and I think that attitude is the thing that ignites this. Oh no, he's so pure. He needs to be protected, right? We can't. And always tries to keep you out of trouble or shelter you or watches you, that kind of thing.
Okay. Who did you last put in their place, and how bad was the damage?
So I think that was Marva. and I think I caught Marva chewing on some young lad.
I don't know what you're talking about, darling.
Well, this was like, this can't be happening.
It was nothing really.
I had to go and make sure and finish this poor lad off.
Oh, come on now. He left in one piece, so where's the harm? The Carnival can be a dangerous place, so...
He was the
And so
mayor's
she's leaning
son.
on her tank.
Yeah.
Like tail, fin flipping in the water.
Marva, he
Yeah.
was the mayor's son.
Oh, that's why he tasted so sweet. I was already wondering. He wasn't the usual fare.
I mean, he was a despicable guy. I give you that, but you can't just.
But Serena sent him.
Well,
Totally lying.
I had. And he just frustratedly like shakes his head, like knowing like.
I think it's easy to say that you would totally just lose your shit with her.
Yeah, either that or.
But
like,
how did you put me in my place? Did you try to draw me?
Well, I guess I didn't really. But the damage was bad because I actually
You had to kill.
this poor guy. Yeah, like he lost. Like I think he already had lost an arm, and like there was no way like to explain that away. So I had to kill him and bury him somewhere out
Wait,
in the dust.
You let him go to waste? All that flesh?
All that.
You could have given him to Tamsin.
Probably. This was a really bad town. Tamsin was already full. Also, I need to shelter Tamsin from eating more people, right?
Karen, share, darling.
This way, I took the darkness upon me by
Sebastian
going in.
is just so
But then
stressed out.
I still, but then you still haven't said how you put me in my place. I guess the easiest way of me being a mermaid is just put me out into the sun and let me dry up a little bit. That's the story we had in the last campaign, where it was funny enough. It was also a strongman, and he just took her whole wheelchair and put it high up on somewhere where she couldn't get away, and just let her roast there for hours.
Yeah, but I think for Sebastian the answer is like he tries to reason it out, and if people don't listen, then he gives up on it.
I can see that though with Sebastian's backstory is that he
Because if I
swallows
let
it.
myself go, then I like actually. Yeah.
I can see that because that is how bad the damage was. I think trying to put you in your place was him not letting you finish.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she wasn't interested. I wouldn't have been interested in getting more than a nibble. I basically already got what I wanted.
Maybe he could like prevented you like in the coming weeks from like
Kept more of an eye on you.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that would totally piss her off.
Yeah, like Sebastian like kept more of an eye on you and didn't let Serena send anyone to you. Didn't let you get any more nibbles for a while. How's that sound, Matthias?
They're like taking care of that before it comes
Before
to
it
that
comes
every
to a
time?
problem, yeah.
Yeah, like multiple times after that, you didn't get to nibble. I just took them outside and gave them a proper beating and sent them home.
Yeah. Like you see like Marva get that glint in her eye and you're like, nope. I'm gonna deal with this on my own.
And then Marva would get really petty, and so at some point she would be like, "So Sebastian, how'd you like that old fish in your bed?" Just like really stupid little things before she would.
So
She doesn't hate him. Like she wouldn't do anything.
She's just being bratty.
Yeah.
But here's another thing. I had actually an idea for a performance we might have together, which I also wanted to check with you.
Mm-hmm.
But we might not be right now. There's one other question, right?
Yeah, there's one more question. Who is a friend you believe would never betray you?
Oh, that would be Serena, right? I mean, if she can see into the future, what point is there other than like thinking she always is telling the truth?
Totally.
Like I think Serena doesn't lie.
Do you lie to Sebastian? I mean, you are keeping something from him. Do you consider that a lie because you're
I lie to everyone. What are you doing?
So do you consider that a lie because you are sort of lying by omission?
Well, I mean, I guess. I mean, she's just not telling him his future, but she doesn't really tell anyone that they like live with their future. So
Okay.
Apparently, you should be telling me.
I'm not. So peace.
Yeah.
All right. did you want to? We can go to a break real quick because we're going on 2 hours. Just have a quick little break, and we'll be back, and we will actually start.
Yay.
We're back. I muted myself in the middle of saying that. Okay, so I think we're gonna start out. It is a very warm morning. About 7 o'clock in the morning, and all around you, you hear the carnival already coming to life, as it does very early in the morning. There's a lot that goes into getting this carnival ready to go. The show, the carnival actually opens up around 3 o'clock in the afternoon and goes late into the evening, but it takes nearly the whole day to get it up and running. People to prepare, tents to be put up properly, make sure that everything's taken care of, the animals to be washed and cleaned and fed. You don't want an animal attacking a child because it's hungry. Yeah, you don't want that to happen more than once. But unusually this morning, you all wake to the sound of a loud scream. And it sounds like it's coming from the back of the carnival.
So I think if that I'm already up and I'm kind of carrying like a bunch of broken chains from last night's performance out, because what I usually do is when that has happened, the next day, when I'm finally allowed to leave the carnival grounds, that is, I take the chains, find some local smith or something to reforge the chains, which is also again like a little bit of, word gets around, right? That's kind of what it's designed for as well. It wasn't all just a trick on the ice last night. No, there were real broken chains, and if I go into town showing them off, will draw more people that night. So I think I have like you would carry a big rope. I have like chains on my shoulder, and as I hear the scream, the immediate reaction is like throwing the chains to the ground and go running from where the scream came from.
Yeah, what are the rest of you doing? You already awake,
No, Marva likes to sleep in. So she's in her own private tent in a much smaller tank where she sleeps, and she sleeps underwater, so her hair flowing like seaweed in the water, and she would probably not even hear it the first time because it would be very muffled.
Yeah, I think even for you, Marva, you don't even really hear the scream per se. You hear more of the reaction outside. Yeah, you hear more people reacting and running toward what you hear, because it's sort of even further in the back than Tamsin's tent is in the back of the carnival. But you hear sort of people reacting, and like the footprints of people, or the footsteps of people running. That's what you react to.
Yeah, so I would definitely notice then the vibration in my tank, and just a low rumbling, and sort of open my eyes and break the surface. And I think I have this neat trick where I just sort of put my hands through my hair, and it immediately becomes dry. So just do this, and it's still a mess, but it's like, and then hello. And then I would say that Marva and Sebastian, they probably have this routine that he comes in at a certain point and helps her to get in the wheelchair. but he is busy, and so I would say that for cases like that, she can. So her smaller tent also has this metal construction, and it has this almost like a trapeze, or no, like a tiny swing with carabiner hooks, and so something that she can hoist herself up with, and then somehow
I imagine it's those things over beds, like with people who like broke their legs or their backs or something.
Exactly, like
over hospital beds. Yeah.
Probably in this case, it would probably more like a bar that she can hold on to.
Yeah.
But then, she would sort of have to hoist herself up, and then there's a rope, and it's very awkward. And there's a good chance that she at some point just going to flop onto the ground. I mean, she made sure that it's just carpet, but
yeah.
There's a reason why she prefers if Sebastian stops by. And so she's like, oh, well, no one's stopping by. Guess I have to do this on my own. Well, here we go. And then she tries to. I mean, I can roll to see. There's no re-roll for it, but
I think you get up, and I mean, this is something you don't do it every day. Like, for the most part, Sebastian is there, and it's even strange that Lucille or Jack isn't here either. Someone to help you in some way, but it is something to do on your own if you have to. So you're able to get up, and where do you go from here?
So I get into my motorized wheelchair and sort of grab a blanket because I don't know what's going on. So I make sure that I'm covered, and I probably have something like a dress gown or a fancy bathrobe cover top half, and then I grab a blanket. And I would, just go outside. And since Sebastian's tent is across, although wait, the entrance is on the other side. I don't know. I'm trying to see if I can tell in what direction people are going. And then if anybody's running past her and says, I would try to stop them. Said, hello, could someone tell me what's going on here? It's so early.
You actually grab Rigby's attention, and he just says, I don't know what the hell's happening. Just some girl scream. I think someone's been hurt. And he doesn't even wait for an answer. He just takes off again.
And then I would just be like, oh, well, can you believe that? And then, but she wants to know. I want to know what's going on. So I'm making my way with the motorized wheelchair.
What about you, Serena? You have heard this. You're close enough. You're sort of in a general area of the carnival. Not too far to the front, not too far to the back.
She's probably like sitting on the steps of her like caravan, reading the daily paper, and she's unbothered. I think if enough people go in that direction, she'll follow, but at the moment she does not care.
Okay, what about you, Tamsin? Because this was very loud to you. It happened in your vicinity.
Yeah, so I was probably still sleeping or like slow rising. Imagine those cold nights, just try to be warm until the sunlight warms up. Cold-blooded references. Yeah, with the scream being so loud and so near, Tamsin probably leaves pretty quickly, at least sticks the head out. Probably not like fully dressed, as badass sacrificial scar on his chest. And then
you were running at about full speed, right, Sebastian, to get to where you were going?
Yeah, I imagine that there's this point where I run past Serena sitting on her steps, and I'm like, what's happening? But I'm kind of not slowing down. I'm just like basically seeing her non-reaction, continuing to read the papers. It's like, oh yeah, that's no use of me turning on the spot and keep going.
You probably past Tamsin right as he is sticking his head out of his tent.
You stay in there as I run past you. Where did this come from?
Seeing Sebastian's urgency and being told to stay in my tent are my two biggest motivators to finding out what is going on. Me and Charybdis immediately seek out the cause of the scream.
Sebastian, you get there before Tamsin does. And there's already a little bit of a crowd gathered, but it's mostly like, the roustabouts, the people who work there. But you see this woman standing there, and you don't recognize her. You're not sure who she is, but you immediately recognize that she is a rube, someone from the town. But you recognize what you see though is her covered in blood, her hands bloody, her even her face blood, her daisy dress, very plain dress, just this bright red color over the yellow that it should be. And you see laying in front of her a performer, someone who worked alongside Minnie and Sammy. Wasn't like a main performer like they were, but he sort of opened up for them. His name was Frederick, and he is just torn to pieces, completely, like as if long nails had just shredded him. And she's just, her hands up at her face, just looks still sort of wailing cries and sobs.
Yeah, and like I push past people and pull them back, and I approach this woman. Like I'm not a tall, broad-shouldered man, actually. And I'm kind of half ducking and coming closer with like my hands out. So I'm like one motioning the other people to stay back, right, and the other open palm for her to see. I'm like, oh, good lady, what? And like I try to get her, like she's covered in blood, and Frederick is torn to pieces. And I take in the scene and look around. What's this here? Is there like are there like tracks leading to here? Like what could have caused this or happened here?
Would you like to keep an eye out for trouble?
Yes, I would.
You can roll plus guile. Ooh.
That's a 9.
Good roll. So on a 9, you get to ask me one question. What dark truth is hidden here? What tragedy is about to happen? What's my best way out of this mess? Or who here is stained by the darkness?
I mean, the last one is pretty clear to me.
It's that dress.
Yes. So I'm like, I try to catch the like her gaze, her eyes, to be like, hey, calm down. But actually, like, I look directly at her, and into her eyes, and I like, what dark truth is hidden here is what I want to ask.
What dark truth is hidden here? She didn't do this. She knows who did. And she also is involved with it, though it's not at her hands. And you can tell because you know that Frederick, and the reason you know this is because you know a lot, Sebastian, because of your sort of involvement with Edith as her sort of right-hand man. You know that Frederick was close to getting fired because he was working with the sort of underground criminal people here. You guys haven't been here long in this city, but Frederick has always been drawn to the underground criminal acts.
And trying to make a quick buck on the side, even if it's potentially harmful
Yes.
for the carnival. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm Sebastian.
She immediately, as you get closer, steps back. She's, don't you touch, don't get closer.
It's okay. It's
don't.
okay.
You people did this to my Frederick.
You have nothing to fear. We'll find out and take care of everything. Please just calm down.
And I think at this time, Tamsin, you're looking sort of behind the crowd and you see what's happening as well. And Marva, you're sort of rolling up too.
Mm-hmm. Coming through.
She looks at all of you. She says, "Oh, you freaks did this. He wasn't like you. You all did this."
No, honey. It's not that bad, I promise. And I would like to offer comfort or a siren song. I'm gonna go with my siren song, actually.
Nope. I think Katie is for you as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not on my end.
There we go.
Oh, sorry.
There we go. Yeah.
It might have just I might have opened the wrong window or something. Sorry, guys. Yes, you can definitely do that.
Yeah, and so I look at her with a sweet smile on my face, and I'm just singing sort of the first line of Moon River. I don't even know if that was written at that time, or let's just say it was. And I roll plus grace, and I have a +1 on grace. And so I'm trying to, what I'm going for is slip under their skin just to make her calm down a little bit and tell us whatever she knows. Okay, let's see. That's a 6 plus a 1. No, it's a 7 then.
Okay. Yeah, explain what that move does.
So when you use your lovely voice as a weapon, roll plus grace, and then I can choose between 3 options: either shriek until their ears bleed, and then I deal 2 harm, or mesmerize even the hardest heart. A PC takes -2 on the next roll, so I could even use that against you guys. Or 3, that's one I'm going with: slip under their skin, dictate an NPC's physical actions for a short time. And so on a 7 to 9, I'm successful, but I also have to choose one: either leave yourself exposed to danger, drive an NPC mad with need for you. I think it's too early for that. I mean, too early in the morning, not too early in the game, but endanger someone you care for. Now I'm gonna leave myself exposed to danger. I've just woken up. I don't think I'm yet fully awake, so that would be a definite option there.
Okay. So you begin to sing, and she seems to calm down, but not toward Sebastian. She looks at you and she says, you're right, but I don't trust these people. And you watch Petra as Marva. I was looking at your name. You watch Marva as she sort of shakily reaches for this pocket in her dress, and she pulls out this handgun.
Oh my.
And
take my morning robe clothes around me.
She her hand is shaking as she's pulling it, as she's holding it out, and she is looking at all of you, and she's...
Oh, young lady, you haven't even told us your name.
I don't owe you any name. It's people like you that killed my Frederick.
Well, you're standing here over the corpse of Frederick with a gun in your hand. What does that look like to us, you think?
I found him like this.
It's all right, honey.
What, Charlie?
Can Serena show up around this point?
Yeah, definitely.
She's not doing anything. She's just there.
Okay. Yeah, you're watching. Both you and Tamsin are sort of in the crowd watching this happen.
Yeah, she begins to, so not shake around with the weapon, but pulls out the weapon. Marva was like, now, maybe you should give her all some space. You know, she's in a very frightened situation here. So you know, Frederick, or you? No, I stick with President. So you know, Frederick, that's so lovely. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
We were gonna run away together.
Oh, that's so sweet. Where were you gonna go?
I don't know. But he was gonna take me far away from this town. Far away from the sick smell. And he was gonna run away from all of y'all.
I give Tamsin a look. Like, there's a lesson here kind of look, without really saying anything, or what would even the lesson be, but that's the look I'm giving you.
There's a lesson. I don't know what it is, but you need to learn it.
This will be a learning moment later. Just note it down.
And I turn back towards her and I say, no, we can handle this calmly. We'll all leave you alone, give you space, and you put away that gun. Is that a deal?
I want to know who did this exactly.
Same. I want to know too. So let's sit down and let's handle this in a civil manner.
Also, darling, you might want to wipe off your face and your hands. And I pull out a clean handkerchief from my the bathrobe, and sort of hand it to her, but not leaning in, sort of.
I am.
And you've got my word. There's no harm going to come to you here, from us. We want to know who did this to.
I think as she turns her attention toward you, she goes to like step forward, and her attention's off of everything that's happening, and she looks toward you, Marva, and reluctantly reaches out to grab the handkerchief. And in this moment of nothing really happening, all of you see as Hank sort of lunges forward to grab her, and the gun fires. And Marva, you feel it doesn't hurt you. It hurts, but it's not like a horrible wound. It sort of just grazes your arm. The bullet grazes past your arm. You take one harm. And she falls to the ground, and Hank's on top of her, and she screams out. But the gun does leave her hand and sort of go toward the crowd, but it's smoking, it's fired off, and Hank looks up at you and goes, "Miss Marva, I got her."
Thank you, Hank. Thank you so much. You did good.
Can I take, like... I was gonna grab the gun, but you can grab it.
Go ahead.
You both reach for it.
It's like a weird meet cute.
It is. It's a weird meet cute. You both reach for the gun at the same time.
We both reach for the gun. Our hands touch. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna pick up the gun with like a kerchief or something.
Yeah, you pick it up. Do you like hide it?
Put the fantasy safety on it.
Okay.
I think she would tuck it into her pocket.
Okay. Hank gets to his feet, and he holds the woman's arms behind her, and looks at you, Sebastian. What do I do with her? And he hasn't even realized that you've been shot, Marva. That hasn't processed to him. He's proud of himself for getting this woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sebastian's like, "Are you alright? Are you alright?" Ignoring Hank and being like, "I'm not going to explain the situation to this person right now."
Oh yes, I'm fine. Don't you worry. So, what are we going to do with her?
Well,
How is she reacting, by the way? Is
she is struggling, but against Hank, there's no way she's getting out of him. And the longer that he's holding her, she's losing fight. You can tell that she's sort of giving up.
Yeah.
And the longer he holds her, she sort of finally gives up fight and just sort of stands there with her head down. Her long blonde curly hair sort of falls into her face. And she just says after a moment, I didn't do this. But I want to know who did.
Then, honey, how did the blood get on you?
I found him like this. He wanted me to meet him this morning. We were going to run away, and he was like this, and I just lost control. He was the love of my life.
Lost control. And by the way, the whole love of her life, running away, better life is totally ringing with Marva. She feels her. You know what I mean?
When I saw him there, I just grabbed him and I didn't know what to do, and I just started screaming, and I don't know what happened to him.
So you didn't hurt him? You just wanted to hold him close? Is that how the blood got on you?
Yes. I thought he might still be alive somehow.
Too bad that there's no equivalent of an inside check.
I know, right?
I'm believing her right now. I'm totally.
I was going to say, you can technically roll to keep an eye out for trouble. It does sort of count as the same thing if you wanted to.
Yeah,
I will.
But yeah. Sebastian's like, okay. Then again, I'm telling you now that you're without arms, still going to promise you won't come to harm through us if you tell us exactly what you know.
We're like good cop, bad cop.
I'm trying to strike a deal here, to be explicit now.
Okay, yeah. Roll. Offer up something precious. Is that her safety? Is that what you're considering?
Well, my promise that she won't be hurt here, right? That's the precious thing. And now she doesn't even have a gun anymore. So
roll guile.
Yes, it is guile. That's kind of important here. And I'm kind of acting on the answer, right? On the what Dark Truth is sitting here. I know she knows more.
I'll allow that. Yeah. I'll say that is good.
That's a 13.
Yes. On a 10, the deal is struck. I don't think you actually shake her hand because she is sort of, Hank's got a hold of her, but she says, she looks up at you, Sebastian, and she meets your eyes solidly. Like it is a sincere look from her. And her eyes have tears in them, and she nods.
And I think I put my hand on Hank's arm, and that makes him lower her to the ground and let go of the grapple he had on her.
He does, and you tell she's very weak in the knees.
Yeah, maybe the shake of hands is not a shake of hands. It's I take her arm to support her.
Yeah.
Okay.
She lets you, and she nods her head, and she says, "All right, I'll tell you whatever you want to know."
Let's get you somewhere you can sit down first. Like I want to get her out of the crowd here. I'm looking over to, I guess, Thompson. Your place is the closest, right?
Yeah.
Establish this.
Tamsin's would be the closest. Yeah. He is still in the crowd though, beside us, close to Serena.
If I see that this situation is going back towards my tent, I would follow a little bit behind.
Okay. Yeah, the two of you go back toward the tent. Marva, as you're sitting there, with your hand to your arm, it's Edith that comes over to you. Well, what are we going to do about this then? We can't have our main event injured.
Oh, well, it's nothing. I just need to sleep it off. And I can, I have a ton of shawls. I can just wrap it around my arm, make it part of the decoration. Nobody will see a thing.
So this won't mess anything up today?
Well, it's definitely hurting a bit, but being in the water makes it easier.
All right. Well, as long as I have your word, I don't want anything to keep you from performing to your best abilities.
No, well, I definitely need to take care of it and disinfect it, because otherwise I might get nasty. Out of character, would Dr. Bliss, does he actually
She was about to
also
say...
have legit...
She was going to say, she, like, checks a pocket watch. She pulls a pocket watch out of her pocket. She says, it's a little early, but I'm going to send someone to fetch Dr. Bliss, and he should come by and see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Edith. Appreciate it.
If anything, it'll help with the pain a little bit. It looks like. And she sort of reaches and pokes it unnecessarily. And she says, if anything, it'll help with the pain.
Sure it will. Will you look at that? Now I've got a hole in my lovely bathrobe. Now who's going to fix that?
I'm sure one of your many admirers will get you a replacement.
Oh, I'm sure of it. Actually, now that you're saying it, I think I will have a replacement ready.
She looks at you and just scoffs and turns around, and you hear her sort of muttering to herself as she looks at her pocket watch, which is very, it's not strange to you, but you know that this is probably the only timepiece in the circus is the one that Edith has. And she's just muttering to herself about keeping to the schedule as she walks off. What do you do? And the crowd is dispersing at this point. There are a couple people who are looking at you and muttering under their breath, oh, I hope she's okay. And there's actually a couple people who are saying that she fucking deserved it, and wishing that you got more. But
of course.
Things you've heard worse.
Oh yeah, no, the smile never, like the only moment where my smile freezes on my face is when she pokes it. Sort of.
Yeah.
Just a little. I roll back to my tent where I would get a piece of clean gauze or something like that, and some fresh water, so not from the tank, to just clean it up a little bit, and then wait for get a new bathrobe, because I do indeed have one. And then I guess we probably have someone who mends clothes and stuff like that.
Actually, I think Lucille would probably know how to do that from her many years. Yeah, she would probably know how to do that.
How could I have forgotten about Lucille? Yeah, I'm going to ask her. She will fix this for me. And and then just wait for Dr. Bliss to come by. But I will be at the entrance, or like the back entrance of this private tent, because I do want to try and hear what's going on further with that lady.
Okay. Serena, what about you as the crowd's dispersing? What are you up to?
I would have followed.
Good, because I would have motioned Serena to come with, to have another person there, especially someone who can look into people's souls, or whatever Serena actually does.
Okay.
Because I don't fully understand, but yeah. And Tamsin stands also, from my perspective, perfect, because it's rather dark, right? And full with incense, and that smell lingers even if the show is not on yet.
Mm-hmm.
I assume.
Yeah, I think that you burn incense to take away from the fish smell, right, Tamsin? So I think it takes you a little bit to get her in and seated and cleaned up. You let her clean up a little bit, correct?
Yeah.
And by this time, Marva, you've had enough time to, get a new robe and put a little bit of gauze yourself and sort of make your way back to, the entrance to Tamsin's tent, so you can listen as well.
All right.
And she looks up at you, Sebastian, as she's sitting there, and she's still very fragile looking. There's still tears in her eyes, and she just goes, "My name's Alma."
Right.
So she definitely did it then.
She says, she says, what do you want to know?
Well, for one, what exactly did you and Frederick have planned, and who knew about it?
We were going to run away, like I said. But, I mean, I think he was going to take some money from some people. And
You know, from which people?
I think from some people from the underground, the brothel, and I think from some people here.
I look at Serena, then back at her. Who here?
I think that Edith lady was one of them. And then there was...
Really, Frederick, really?
And then there was the ticket guy. And then she puts her head down. She says, and then the mermaid lady.
I don't know that if he's that stupid.
She like, you say that and she just shoots you this like look, this horrible look.
That really wasn't stupid at all. They're the ones with the most money.
Yeah, but it takes someone a lot smarter than Frederick to just con them.
He wasn't going to con him.
Yeah,
He was just going to take it and run.
he wasn't gonna con him. It was really early in the morning, and they all sleep in. Well, I don't think that Edith lady does, but he was gonna wait till she was distracted. He was gonna cause a scene.
So I guess someone caught him then.
I guess. I don't know. He told me
I'm
to...
so sorry for you, honey.
I might have caused it.
Oh. Elaborate on that, would you?
I mean, I might have run my mouth off about running away with him.
And who did you run your mouth to?
The other girls at the brothel.
Are they in a habit of running their mouths as well?
Everyone's in the habit of running their mouths at the brothel. It's what we do.
So is Serena actually, eating grapes or something?
Yeah.
You're like really interrogating this woman.
She,
Sorry, I need a snack.
No, I like it,
she
but I can't. Like, it's part of the fiction.
she grabs some grapes from like Tamsin had some fruit set out.
Just don't eat the ones on the left. Relax.
Oh God.
How'd you get these even here? I don't think this place has seen fresh fruit for like.
Just don't ask about it.
Anyway, yeah.
Look, I don't... There's a lot of people from here go to the brothel. They say that you guys have some kind of curfew, but they don't... They break it anyway.
Well, everyone's got urges. You can't blame them for that.
Yes, but to break the curfew, you just bring him here. It's not worth crossing Edith.
I mean, I wouldn't do it, but
Frederick says a lot of people want to cross Edith.
Sure, a lot of people want to. He's the only one that didn't. He's dead. Well, they say other people have too. I think only Sebastian remembers them because that happened a long time ago. Right, Sebastian?
Quite.
People who cross Edith?
Quite right. Some things you just don't do.
Do you think Edith did it?
I don't think she would have to.
No.
She has a way with words.
Can I ask real quick what the wounds look like? I forgot the description of what like the actual wounds on
Yep.
Frederick look like.
Yep.
They look like he has been slashed. So it you could describe it as animalistic. Like it sort of like he's been shredded basically. But I will tell you as like MC, like sort of meta knowledge, it's not an animal. But it looks like he has been shredded to pieces. He's still like in one piece, but his clothes, like everything about him is shredded. If she hadn't told you it was Frederick, you probably wouldn't have known at first glance.
So was it parallel cuts? Like,
Yes,
was it
it
made
was-
by something, even if it wasn't an animal claw?
Yes,
That,
it was
So I've
straight.
got a little bit of an idea. I'm gonna just get up real close to her. Do you have any idea who or what did this to Frederick? Specifically, I don't mean in a general sense.
She shakes her head quick. No.
Would you like me to try to find out?
Yes.
Okay, so, now tell me if this is an okay thing, Katie. There is the move, because I'm just going to go all for it. There's the move, Indulge Your Inner Monster, and that allows you to do the hold, and I'm specifically looking at the one of Become Omniscient, the force another to reveal their hidden truth. Because of my like sacrifice and death and like rebirth, I want to indulge in my inner monster, which I don't totally understand mechanically how that works, but I think it's follow your indulgence or something. And I want to find out Frederick's inner truth. Essentially, like if I can get like a death image or like last thing he saw before he died or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I like that narratively. Yeah, we'll figure this out.
It may or may not involve Charybdis eating Frederick.
I that's actually what I was thinking of. So that was gonna be, and if everyone was okay with it, I don't like if it's not X card, you eating Frederick too.
Lord, that body.
Oh God.
I was gonna say Marva and Tamsin were probably the only ones who were secretly licking their
mouths watering a little bit.
So there's nothing in this moment that we see. It's more like in the past half hour where we were like busy calming her down, changing and stuff like that. That's what you did.
He's gonna do it now.
Or are you going to go
so
do
this
it
is
now?
Yeah, so I do realize that like I need to indulge and then that gives me the hold and then I can spend the hold. So I imagine as though just now in this moment I've asked her like, do you want me to try to find out? Which is my way of saying like, are you okay with me eating your boyfriend? I'm just gonna and so like I imagine that there's sort of a meditative process as we figure that out.
So would you then head out again?
No, you're all in my tent.
Yeah, but the body isn't.
Oh, is he not?
No,
Yeah,
the
we
body
left him out.
the body was left out.
We got a real good respect for the dead around here.
I mean, it was sort of assumed that Edith was going to find a way to take care of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so what are you...
But
So
yeah, that's why I was thinking if you just like, because this is cryptic enough that I would probably just stop you in the sense and be like hand to your shoulder, like I don't know what you're planning on doing, but it's more of a like not stop you to do anything. It's more stop you to check on, hey, What are you going to do?
And I look at Sebastian and I glance over at Alma to kind of imply, like, I'm not going to say this out loud, but I'm going to find out by asking Frederick. There are a lot of things that
I could come with you.
can hold.
I can keep an eye on him, Sebastian.
Yeah, I don't think you should. I mean,
I don't think Frederick should have crossed Edith.
No, you're right there.
But
And we
did.
all
think it
just
was
want to
Edith.
find out what happened here.
I don't think it was anyone here that did this.
Well, how do you know? I mean, I never expected Frederick to be to try and cross Edith.
Do you think Edith would leave a mess like that for everyone to find?
No, but we all have our ways to get things done, if you know what I mean.
Well, how else do you think stories of not crossing Edith spread around? You gotta find it.
That's why I would suggest you take a step back from this. Tamsin, it's no need to get involved.
I'm already involved. We all are. I just think that there's a lot we can learn about Frederick, and there's a lot we can use that information for to make us all safer.
I begin to wheel out of the tent and sort of hold it open and sort of look back over my shoulder to Tamsin.
So, are we going or what?
Yeah, he's shaking my arm off you, basically. Like I'm not grabbing onto you, but I did the whole.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sebastian, I'm not asking your permission, but I will ask you if you have a better idea. I know this will work, and you know this will work. But if you have another idea, we can try it instead.
I look at Alma, then I look back at Serena and at Mara, and like,
Alma is looking very confused too, and a little scared, but she doesn't seem to be questioning it.
yeah, and this is like why I can't actually
Do anything, yeah.
verbalize anything, and I'm not even completely sure what Tamsin's going. My worry is just, why do you need to get involved like that strongly? But I don't have any good arguments, and everybody wants this up, including me as Sebastian's player.
Yeah. So I'll, in this moment, I'll address Alma, and I said, Alma, you were the first among us to know that Frederick is dead. The dead aren't sacred. It says, the Bible says that to dust we return. And that's where he is now, and I believe his soul has gone to where it needs to go. Now his body is returning to dust. I need to look a bit closer at his body, and I believe I can find evidence there to find out what happened. Now, if you're okay with that, we're going to go do our investigation. You're welcome to stay here in my tent. I think you'll find it very comfortable.
All right. Just
The incense will stay burning for the next hour. Feel free to light another stick if we're not back yet.
she grabs your arm just very gently and just says, just please take care of him.
Oh, the Lord will.
And she nods. And
He's gone now. It's just the body left. That's not Frederick. He's moved on.
All right. And she lets you go.
That's definitely enough initiative that you've taken there for Sebastian to not further intervene.
And so, like, once outside of the tent, we're walking quiet after a few steps out of earshot. Sebastian, you know I have to consume the body.
Yeah, but even now that you have to say it.
Well, I didn't want to lie to you. I knew you were worried.
Mava is already back because she didn't wait for Tamsin. She's checking in where the body was, just 10 minutes ago. Is it still there?
Serena, did you follow them as well, or are you staying with Alma?
I'm staying with Alma.
Okay, we'll
I
go.
have some things I want to do.
Okay.
Let's do that.
We'll go back to that in a moment. Yeah, the body's still there. And there's not a crowd. People seem to be going about their normal business, so things like this specifically haven't happened before, but there's been death before in the carnival. It's not that big of a deal.
Is Edith still around?
No.
I am looking for, is there anything else out of the order around or near the body?
No, there's not. And in fact, it's pretty, it's like strangely normal. There seems to be no sign of a struggle. It's just here.
And I think it's even like Sebastian even says, well, do what you gotta do. We've got a show tonight. And actually goes to what he was initially going to do around this time.
Okay.
And leaves you to it.
And Marva, you're there with Tamsin, correct?
Well, I was going to say I'm looking up at Tamsin and say, so may I watch?
Well, I don't like doing a show on a full stomach, so I was thinking I only need to eat most of the head and the heart. You can go ahead and have the limbs. That will save me some mass for us both.
Well,
Tamsin does not say that with a smile.
No, I don't immediately. I'm imagining you saying it with well. That's quite the invitation. I was just wondering, do we have to tell Edith about this?
I don't think we do. I think she'll know that the body is gone. And that's the only thing that she's quite concerned with, I reckon.
Well, if you put it like that, I guess she couldn't argue against that, now can she?
Frederick crossed her. I think if anything, she'd be pleased that we took initiative.
Oh, you're so right. And you can see at that she begins, like, during the day, she can look fairly human, sort of the upper half of her body. But as she's getting excited, she's definitely, her face looks a little bit more greenish and her eyes look a little bit more wild, and she's definitely drooling.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move the situation to somewhere a little bit more discreet.
Yeah.
Agreed.
My tent is occupied, and yours has to stay pristine or the children will notice the blood. Don't want that to happen again.
Yeah, that was quite a mess last time, wasn't it?
Children ask too many questions.
But then again, I mean, no one ever gets into my private tent.
Oh, you have a private tent? Sure.
Well, yes. Like you said, after the one time when I didn't take quite good care of the main tent and got a little bit messed up, I asked for, a private, separate, smaller tent with a separate tank. So I don't think anybody would mind if we brought the body there.
Let's wrap him up in a blanket and move him along, then.
All right, I just fear I won't be much of help, Although, if you wrap him up real nice, we could hook him up to my wheelchair. I think that might work.
And I think I'm getting a little bit too excited about this.
Do I have the physical strength? Like, I'm not weak. I can probably drag the ball.
Marva knows that she could ask Hank. He would do anything for her.
I keep forgetting about my lackeys.
Hank and Lucille have to make a little post-it.
Hank would do anything for her, without question.
Yeah, so I would just roll out and be like, Hank.
Yeah,
Hank, darling.
It takes, it's like he's tuned into you, and he runs up to you, and he sort of gives Tamsin a little, like a smile, just an innocent smile. Yes, Miss Marva?
Could you be a darling and help us wrapping up this body? We would like to get it out of sight so people don't have to look at this grisly scene all day long.
Oh, did Miss Edith ask you to get rid of it? And he doesn't even expect an answer. He's already hoping. He's found some canvas.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah, he steps away for a moment to get some canvas, and he's wrapping this body up.
I also think that's what he always says.
Yeah.
Oh, Miss Edith asked you to, or
Yeah.
Miss Edith wants, and we always say
Hey,
yes,
Pick me
exactly.
up some like apples on the way home. It's like, oh, did Miss Edith ask you to pick up some apples on the way home?
He
Sure,
tosses
Hank.
he tosses his body over his shoulder and follows behind the both of you, just whistling.
Okay. Yeah, then we would go to my the smaller tent, it's pretty small. It's rectangular, it's not round. I would say that my tank takes up a third. Yeah, probably about a third. And then there's a niche where it's like a makeshift wardrobe where I have some really nice robes and some sort of hat pieces and also some bustiers for the earlier shows when the children are there. Yeah, so there's some space where you could drop the body. You could put it just right there, Hank. Thank you so very much.
Oh, you're welcome, Miss Marva. Do you need anything else?
I look at Tamsin. I think we're good here, aren't we?
I believe so.
Well, you
Thank you, Hank.
You're welcome, Mr. Tamsin. You have a good day. And he nods his head, and yeah, he walks out of the tent.
I like Hank.
He's very nice.
He's very nice, yes. Yeah, Tamsin said without a smile.
I don't.
So yeah, I just wheel back and actually before you go to town on that man, I will ask you to help me back into my tank because I can't stay out of water for that. I mean, it's more like I think I'm telling him, oh, I've been out of the water for so long, but the real reason is that I'm getting mermaid excited and I have to be in the water when I can finally get feet fed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's that's a good transition.
Yeah.
Like we go into the tent. I help you into the curtain closes.
I'm not gonna ask you guys to describe what what this looks like. But we are gonna, before I reveal, we are gonna switch back over to Serena real quick.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing, Serena, with Alma by yourselves in Tamsin's tent?
I'm gonna do the touch.
Okay, well, yeah. What is she's like, sort of looking at you out of the corner of her eye, and not really saying anything. She's still very nervous. You get the sense that she's very nervous.
I'm gonna clasp a hand on her shoulder and do this little power trick I have.
Yeah, tell me what it does.
When you try to feel the truth inside someone touch them and roll plus breath.
Okay.
On a plus 10, ask 2 of these questions. On a 7 to 9, ask 1. And then on a miss, you see the darkest of their futures and take -1 on going to prevent it.
like Serena would prevent it.
Yeah. So it's gonna be.
Do you remember how to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a 7.
Yeah. So I'm only gonna ask 1 question. So I'm gonna ask her, or I'm gonna ask, I guess, you. What are you afraid I'll see about you and
You
Frederick?
can feel that she's blocking out that she didn't want to run away because she didn't actually love Frederick.
Well, damn. Even more reason for her to have murdered him.
And
Right,
as you
Serena's
clasp,
just gonna walk out.
clasp your hand on her shoulder, she looks up at you. What are you doing?
Nothing. And then she's gonna walk out.
So Marva, you're enjoying a meal. And you sort of you finished up yours, Tamsin. And you take this chance to like meditate on, and you mark your dark.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a little bit of time, but you sort of begin to like go into this this dark vision it overcomes you. And Marva, would you say you're watching Tamsin, or are you too focused on your? I mean, you finished your meal, but so are you like keeping your eyes on Tamsin, watching him, because he's sitting there, I imagine, sort of like in this meditative stance.
Yeah, I would say I'm both. I was also wondering if you would want me to take also darkness, because I until somebody started with the indulge your inner monster, I wasn't really sure if that has something to do with the indulgence. For some reason, it never occurred to me. But
Isn't
I'm not trying.
Isn't that on the pits card? When you indulge, don't you?
It's a little confusing. It says the monster within, and like mine is described as you must follow your base animal instincts and feed them until they are sated. You regain control when you fulfill the deepest needs of another. And
Yeah,
like,
that's the.
I don't
sorry,
really.
the monster within is sorry for interrupting. Is when you mark the fifth darkness, you completely lose
Yeah.
control.
Okay.
And then that becomes the monster within, and it also gives you the solution for how to regain control.
Okay.
But,
So for indulgence, it just lists the indulgence, and then indulge your inner monster is a basic move, and that one's just when you indulge your inner monster, hold one, mark darkness to spend your hold one for one to choose one from the list. So like, I didn't.
No,
read the
I
whole
don't. I
list.
don't
I'm
think
really
so. I
sorry,
think
I'll
you just
talk to you
that's just something you're just that's an indulgence. It's a weakness that I can use against you.
Gotcha.
That's what I think that's what I'm just gonna use it as, because I agree it's confusing.
It says here. It says your hold disappears at the end of the session. So technically, like if we were at the beginning, I could say, okay, I'm eating now, I'm indulging now, and then I could use that, spend that later.
Yeah.
Basically, okay.
Yeah.
But since we're
100%.
almost at the end of our session, we can do that. Yeah. So I'm first very much into gobbling up my part and going pretty animalistic over it. But then I will watch him. But I'm not looking over the tank. I'm actually, he will see this. Well, he's not seeing it. But if he were looking, he would see my blurry face sort of through the tank, the slightly murky water in the tank, with big eyes watching him, and my hair floating in the water and my webbed fingers sort of on the glass.
So you see Tamsin's eyes go completely black. His usually, reptilian sort of eyes go black, and Tamsin, you see what you can only assume is what Frederick saw. You see this early,
like from his perspective.
From his perspective. You see this early morning carnival. A couple of tents haven't been put up yet. He's running. You can hear his breath heavy. The land of his footsteps hitting against the dirt as he's running, and you just hear him under his breath, this heavy labored breathing, just heavily going, oh god, I gotta get away. And he falls to the ground as like he hits his foot on a rock or a divot in the ground, and you hear him curse under his breath, and he sort of struggles to turn over on his back, and you see this shadow in the ground. It's his, but it moves unnaturally, and it goes from his side to his feet, and you see this mass begin to rise, and it sort of takes the form of a humanoid figure.
The shadow does?
The shadow does, yes.
Okay.
This humanoid figure that's almost like glossy looking in its form, and it's got long elongated limbs. It stands probably a good 6 feet, six and a half feet tall, and long claws, it looks like. And you just hear Frederick beg for mercy as it begins to slash at him, and you feel the pain that Frederick feels, and you open your eyes with a gasp, and you see Marva, and that's where we're going to end it.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So, we're going to go around, say our goodbyes, anything you have to plug, and where we can find you. And, yeah. So, Matthias, go first.
I'm Matthias. You can find me at MTHSBLGR on Twitter. And next tomorrow, I think it's 10 a.m. EST on Pro Restarters channel for our game of Mouse Guard. Continuation of that. And later, after that, again here for The King's Dead, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah. Taylor?
I am Taylor. I make games as Whimsy Machine, like still here from last night. Spell, the RPG, which now has printed book versions that fit nicely inside the box, and this is what those look like. They're available on DriveThruRPG and Gumroad, gumroad.com/Whimsy Machine, and however you find Whimsy Machine games on DriveThruRPG. Honestly, I don't really know how the site works. Sure. I play Monster of the Week every other Friday. So 2 weeks from yesterday will be the next game on Off the Tables channel with Katie as our keeper. And
I had to deal with his bullshit last night.
Mm-hmm. This is a very different brand of bullshit, though. I hope you agree.
Yeah, it was.
All right, and that's me at the end.
Petra? Which, by the way, thank you so much. We've never played together, and I'm so glad that you said yes.
And I'm so glad that you asked me. This was already a lot of fun. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I'm going to post the Twitter handle because it has my full German last name. Like back then when I first joined Twitter, I didn't realize that it might not have been the wisest choice. So I'm RPing very... Wait, did it post?
It's shout out. Hold on. I forgot what the command was. I have you guys in here. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
I RP pretty irregular at the moment because I don't have that much time. But I guess most often you can find me on the Unmade Gaming channel, especially for the charity streams. Like I ran 2 one-shots there, one also for Crossroads Carnival, one for Bluebeard's Bride, and then I'm also a player there. Yeah. Oh, also I'm writing a supernatural horror RPG, which is powered by the apocalypse, and it. I hope that I get to finish the first version soon because I want people to play it.
So if you ever want a place to test it, let me know.
So the premise is just that a group of teenagers or adolescents between the ages of 15 and 20, they come back. It's summer break, and they come back to their hometown probably for the last time because they all, start living their own lives, and the dark and not so well kept secrets of the town come to life in just horrific ways, and yeah.
Oh, as someone whose favorite game is Monster Hearts, and that I love that premise so much. Charlie?
Noted.
I'm Charlie. That was fun. Can't wait till we work out schedules and can play again. I don't game anywhere regularly, but you can find me on Twitter at Diet Cream Soda. And I'll be here tomorrow playing a demon dating game with Katie.
That's my whole life. I'm Katie. Thank the 4 of you so much for playing this with me. I was really excited to run it. Tomorrow I will be here at 1, I believe, playing The King is Dead. Matthias will be joining me, as well as some amazing people. And then at 6, I will be running 13 Demon Princes, which is a game still in Kickstarter. I'm very excited. I believe it's the first time it's being streamed. Charlie will be here as well as some other great people. I am on stream all week next week on Off the Table. I'm on Greyhawk channel on Tuesday, and then I am also on Scraticus's channel on Thursday. So yeah, I will be very sleepy next week. So thank you so much for hanging out. Yeah, I can't wait to see you all tomorrow. So you all have a wonderful night. Bye.